Heidi ho, good neighbors. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a great week. We finally made it to the end of the week, and tomorrow's Halloween. So I hope everybody has a happy, safe Halloween tomorrow. Today is Mando Day, so hopefully you got that episode out of the way, and you'll be here with us tonight. I'm Phil Russert. This is Creato4rcon Q&A. It's episode 29. Can't believe we've made it that far, but so far so good. I want to remind everybody that we have the YouTube channel, Creato4rcon Event. Please go subscribe to the channel. You can go back and watch all the past episodes I've had, and you guys should know by now all the great names that I've had, including the great names that are coming up and the great name I have tonight. So please go check out Creato4rcon Event on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. I'm not asking you to hit the bell. I know people don't like alerts. It drives them nuts, but go subscribe. Anyway. Also, I would ask you, please share this out live. If you come to join us, share it out. Get it out to everybody. Let's have a good time. Have a chat. We're going to talk everything from comics to maybe even some Star Wars. Who knows? Having said that, my usual shout-outs. For your comic book needs, go to Mad Titan Comics. It's MadTitan_Comics on Instagram. And Eric Gunderson is the owner and operator on Facebook. He's got slabs. He's got dollar books. He's got... you name it, key issues, just anything you need, go check him out, Mad Titan Comics. Also, we have Andy Lee, who is the wonderful human being that does all my promotional graphics, so thank you, Andy. And he updated my website for Suffolk Comic and Art Expo, which is my show on December 6th. And he is www.lesdudis.com, LESDUDIS, and it's everything pop culture and geek culture, and he's a really great guy, so go please check that out. We have Art of Kike, which is Enrique Lopez, and on Instagram, every Monday night at 8 p.m., he has his Inking with Kike, and he has a guest every Monday night while he draws or inks. And I think this month coming up, November, is All Women's Month, so he's going to have all women artists. So please go check that out, Monday at 8 p.m., Art by Kike. And finally, we have... It came from the radio, which is an online radio show hosted by Mark Torres, everything pop culture, everything geek culture, things going on in the industry. It's very informative, also funny, and they have some great guests. Except for me, I'll be a guest coming up soon, so they lowered the bar a bit. But anyway, so having said all that, tonight we have a great guest. You probably know him mostly for his Harley Quinn, but he's done many things, Birds of Prey, Teen Titans, Wonder Woman, Amazing Spiderman Family, some other books as well, which we will talk about his career. So without further ado, we have Chad Hardin.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Not a mucho.
We're both matching today, as we saw before, in honor of Mando Day.
Mando.
Yeah, you got to see the episode. I didn't, so no spoilers.
Okay, no spoilers. No,
Hey.
my friends woke me up pretty early in the morning. They were like, "Have you seen it?" I'm like, "Dude, it's 10 o'clock. What are you talking about?"
That's the curse of having a wife that likes it, because I wanted to get up and watch it before I went over to Billy Tucci's to help him with fulfillment, but my wife's like, "Don't you watch it without me?" So I had to wait. But she didn't get home yet, and I have the show, so we'll have to watch it tomorrow. I'm like, "Damn you!"
Yeah. How's Billy doing?
He's good. He's Billy. He's got the energy of a 16-year-old, and the attention span. He's a great guy. I like Billy.
A great guy. No, he is. There's a few people that are genuinely like good, nice people in comics. He's definitely one of them.
He is. He's friendly to everyone. He'll give you the shirt off his back. He's a great guy. And his wife, Debbie, who I've been working with a lot, she's really great at keeping him on track and keeping everything managed. And us kids, we need good mommies,
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I can see that. It's the same with me. It's the same. I draw. My wife does everything else. She's the accountant. She's like the glue. You know what I mean?
I always say the smart artists marry their manager.
By
the way, Russ says hello. What's up, Chad?
Oh, hey, Russ. How we doing, bud?
Yeah, Russ comes on a lot. I appreciate the support. He watches quite a few of my shows.
Russ is the man.
Baby Yoda Day. Yeah, I showed my daughters, Amanda, they saw the first 2 episodes, and they started calling it Baby Yoda. And then my one daughter's like, but that's not Yoda. This takes place after the movies. Why are they calling it Baby Yoda? She's a very critical thinker.
It could be reincarnated Baby Yoda.
You never know. You never know. Like to see where they go with this.
Yeah. If they cloned the Emperor.
Yeah. But why did the clone look so different, have a different voice? I mean, that just didn't make sense to me either. I mean,
it was so dumb. It was
yeah.
so lazy.
I know.
So lazy. I'm like, really? Really? You've had 20 years. You couldn't make up a new big bad. You had to go pull out the old dead big bad.
And you know what's funny is when my 8-year-old, so she goes, "Oh, Dad, that's lame. They brought back the Emperor."
Yeah.
And she even said, then that kind of negates the whole Vader being bringing balance to the balance of the Force. She's like, that ruins the whole thing. All for the first 6 movies.
Yeah.
And she's 8.
No. Well, here's the other thing. Just because you clone him, he comes back as a 90-year-old man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Why isn't he like 16? You know what I mean? They're like, now wait a second. The cloning process isn't done until he's 100 years old.
And messed up and deformed.
Yeah. I'm like, who's writing this crap? Like, this is. Anyway,
Let's make the clone look like he got a hatchet to the head.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It was so, but here's the thing about Star Wars. Okay, so you had the prequels, and I was not a fan of the prequels. My kids love the prequels. Like my kids,
I do too.
They love the prequels more than they like the originals. They love them.
It's the generation.
Love them. And so I tend not to say anything about the prequels because I don't want to take anything away from their joy.
Right.
And but anyway, I was not a fan. And I had basically sworn off Star Wars. Like I watched Star Wars once a week my entire life until The Phantom Menace. Okay. I literally wore out my VHS tape. My VHS tapes at some point were like, literally wore them out. Went and saw Phantom Menace. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just getting a little too old for this stuff, And because here's the thing, I stepped out of the theater. I'm like going, why didn't I like this? You saw this, you were 4 years old. Do you know what I mean? It's not magic anymore,
right?
And that's what it really came down to. I'd grown up. This is a movie for kids, and I was no longer a kid, and so I let my kids enjoy it the same way I enjoyed Star Wars, and that was fine. But then the prequels come along, and my kids are like, Dad, this is hot garbage. I'm like, But I'd sort of worn it off, and then Rogue One came along.
See, that's the thing. Rogue One, that Vader scene alone is just like that made the whole freaking movie for me.
But no, it was a great film, and I'm like, okay, maybe there are people out there that can still make a good Star Wars film.
Right, and then Solo came out.
Solo wasn't bad.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it was just.
I just didn't like him as Solo.
I thought him and Lando were great.
I liked Lando. I thought he was too soft. He didn't have the edge that Harrison Ford gave the character. He wasn't snarky. He kind of seemed like the preppy teenage guy. Like his name should be, Chad.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. So here's a true story. So my little brother's named Mikey. My dad's name is Michael. So my little brother's named after my dad. My older brother's named after my grandpa, Tass. Okay. So like, Mom, who am I named after? She's like, this really hunky soap opera star. I'm like, shut up. You named me after a soap star? Like that's like the douchiest, and then lo and behold, for like the next 40 years, if anybody talks about a douchebag, Chad is like the number one name of like every douchebag. Anyway, what are you gonna do? And then what do I do though? What do? I name my son Chad. Like here you go. I survived. Now let's see how
revenge. Well, meanwhile, Norm Ratman is on. He's my big heckler. Norm. He goes, I remember Chad Hard when he was just Chad Hard. Now he's Chad Hardin. And Philip is just Philip. He's always I didn't know Norm well. He came to my last show. I picked him up from the airport. We drove. I had a lot of fun talking to him on the way there. And ever since then, it's just been that we'll like, you know how you know someone likes you because they're always messing with you?
Norm does that to everybody.
He's a good guy. I like him, and he has the same Star Wars taste, so you know.
And he's like us. He married up. His wife is one of the coolest people on the planet.
Smart people marry up.
She's awesome. We did this con in Mexico, and we were going to dinner one night, and these kids come running up to you, and they have like this box of candy and stuff, and they're just trying to sell you like everything in that box.
No one bought it all.
And I'm just like going, and there's so many of these kids. I'm just like, no, thank you, you know. And somehow she basically found out that like if they didn't sell that box of candy, they didn't get to sleep in a bed that night. And she bought like the entire box of candy. And so the whole con, she's just going up to all of us.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, but she was buying like every piece of candy because she didn't want any of those kids not sleep. Anyway,
I look at what Norm puts in his mouth, like all the crap he eats.
I know.
And I'm like, how is he not fat?
I know. No, it's got to be some. I had a Italian same way. His name is Jason Corsetti. Growing up, that kid ate 5 times as much as I did. Was pencil thin. Like it's, you know, some of it's just genetics, dude.
Billy's son Will, he'll eat and eat and eat. I mean, he ate all my food at the green room at my show, and the kid is a rail. I'm like, what the hell? Anyway,
maybe it's an Italian thing. Who knows, right? Jason
I don't know.
Billy Tucci, you know.
I don't know. Russ is funny, man. First of all, Russ was saying you should do a mall, and he's looking forward to the Obi-Wan series. Keith, I agree with you. I wanted Vader to be badass. I think they should do a movie of Vader hunting down the Jedi, but you could do it a Vader and Kenobi movie at the same time. Like part of it is, you know, some of it is Vader hunting down the Jedi and going through his journey, and the other could be Obi-Wan and how he's on Tatooine and he's adjusting to being this hermit after being this, you know, galaxy-hopping hero. You know what I mean? I think it would be an interesting one-shot movie, but that's just me.
Well, it was implied though that all the Jedi were basically killed with Order 66, right?
No, there was still more. As a matter of fact, Charles Soule wrote the Vader series, 25 issues, where they were hunting down more Jedi.
Okay.
So there were some still scattered in across the galaxy. So I think that'd be fun.
See, that, you know, and once again, we were talking a little bit about this before we went live, but like that, for me, that was an expectation. Like that's what I wanted to see happen in episode 3. And what does he do? He goes and he kills a bunch of kids. And you're like,
you know what killed me the most about 3 is it went down. What killed me was when the Emperor, this awesome scene, like, oh my God, they finally found the Emperor and he's about to go kick ass, and you hear that, oh, and he does this big flip and he comes out, and it's this slowly choreographed, pathetic, kills 3 Jedi in 2 seconds. Yeah. And they're like standing there, like looking. One guy's like looking this way, and he gets stabbed. They're like, "Where were you? You guys are Jedi Masters. What the hell are you doing?" Yeah.
There's a little bit of something where they were talking about though, like the dark side of the Force, like negates the good Force, where they can't sort of see it coming. So
it clouds.
It would almost be like Spider-Man not having a spider sense to warn him of the danger.
I would have liked a little faster of a choreography then, though, at least to make that look a little more believable.
Well, I wanted Mace to attack Anakin, because Anakin was basically supposed to protect the Emperor, and I wanted Mace and the Jedi Council to attack Anakin, and that's what pushed Anakin over the edge.
Right.
Because basically, then he's being forced to choose between protecting the government, which he's been assigned to do, and obeying the orders of a Jedi Master who he doesn't respect.
Well, you know what I think was the problem too.
Better conflict, but
I think the other problem is with George Lucas writing, he implied a lot that you might not have caught, and it messed up the pace of things. Because like, we didn't need to see Vader as a little boy at 9 doing these things for a whole movie, and then all of a sudden he's this pompous teenager, and you didn't get to see how he built the relationship with Palpatine. They just mention it in one quick scene, how I've watched you grow as a boy. And that's not enough. You know,
Yeah.
you have to see it. You have to see the influence that he had on him and the things that went on and how he became more narcissistic in his own right and stuff. And I just think that the writing dropped the ball on that. And that's partly what was wrong.
Well, I think the other thing was wrong is when the first Star Wars movies were made, like George basically had to go to people and convince them to give him the money to do it. And there were like, have you seen Willow?
Oh, it's bad.
Willow is the original Star Wars, except in fantasy. Like Luke and Leia were supposed to be the good, tiny people.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Willow is the original Star Wars. That's what you would have gotten in a science fiction setting if George Lucas were just given a carte blanche, do whatever you want. And so a lot of and here's the other thing, he was a lot hungrier back then when he was young and unsure of himself, because he tells this story where he pulls in Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Tommy DePaulo, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong.
De Palma.
Thank you. Yeah, Untouchables. So he pulled in like all of his buddies, like the best directors for that entire era, and he basically gave them a private viewing of Star Wars, and they ripped it. We're talking about Eric Larson. They ripped him a new one, and he was so freaked out about it, he almost had a heart attack, re-editing the movie until it was a good movie, and you almost need that pressure and that criticism to make a good product. And that's why the originals were so good, because back then you could tell George Lucas something. But after Star Wars had sort of become this cultural thing, when it came time to do the prequels, I mean, go back and watch the special features for episodes 1, 2, and 3. And as an artist, as someone who has worked for, and actually I've worked for George, but there are times where he would, I did freelance for LucasArts for the video games. I worked on a game called Gladius, done by LucasArts, and I was freelancing for a company called Origin Studios, and they were doing all the campaign art for the game. So like the video game packaging, all the art for like the instruction manuals, the back of the box, all this stuff. And I'm supposed to be doing this concept art for Gladius. And I was going to send in my cover sketches, and my daughter had come in with a dry erase marker. She was like 4 and just scribbled all over the drawing. And this is like minutes before I'm supposed to present it.
Oh, no.
And I was so nervous and so sick, I was ready to throw up. But I basically had to send it to him as was, and just explain like, hey, my daughter added.
Wow.
Anyway, he thought he was just like, oh yeah, I got kids. That's actually really funny and cute.
She signed it. It was an autograph.
But at the same time, I'm like going,
free of charge.
But
well, I mean, think about it. I think creators probably are their best under pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, and but even sports fighters, everybody. When you're comfortable, that's not good.
See, and that's what it was.
Remark. Ross said it was a remark.
You go back and you look though, and he had surrounded himself with people. He'd surrounded himself with people that are like, George, it's brilliant. Oh, right. I love it. And you watch the kids who are playing the film for him, and they're trying their hardest to tell George Lucas this sucks. Like, go back and watch it. They're like, I really think we need to look at this scene again. You know what I mean? Like, they can't come out and say, George, this is a steaming pile of poop. We need to go fix it. And in the meantime, the guy sitting right next to him is like, it's brilliant. Brilliant. Okay? I'm like, no, it's not. No, you better listen to that kid in the editing chair. He's trying to save your bacon. And George doesn't listen. And
it's brilliant how Indiana Jones went in the fridge to survive the nuclear bomb.
I actually really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that part. Yeah. I grew up in Nevada, 10 minutes, 20 minutes from the test site or whatever.
They really know how to make those refrigerators.
Yeah, but it makes sense that they used to line all the refrigerators with lead.
Right.
Anyway, I didn't mind that part.
I'm still, God forbid we ever have a nuclear war, I'm still not jumping in my fridge.
If there's going to be a nuclear war, I'm just going to go find out where the bomb's going to hit and just get right underneath it.
Right. Let it be quick.
Yeah. Like,
No radiation poisoning.
yeah, 10,000 sunscreen, bammo. On the other side. What happened? I don't know, you know. I'm not one of these people. You know, you watch The Walking Dead, I'd be like, I think I ought to just put the gun in my mouth, like, you know, 2 weeks in and be like,
I'm not dealing with all that
shit
shit.
for me, you know, yeah. Like Rick Grimes, he's really got something to live for. I'm just like,
I don't think I'd ever sleep if I lived in that world. Someone can come walking up on you any minute, or some person could stab you in his sleep. I wouldn't be sleeping at all.
No, and that's sort of the sad thing about that show. It's just like the humans are worse than the zombies. You know?
Well, it's the same thing with Aliens. I mean, the whole Alien franchise, it's always the humans that are screwing everything up. I mean, Paul Reiser in the second one. In the first one, they sent the message to the android that they wanted to get the xenomorph species at the cost of the whole crew.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you think about it.
But that was all the androids doing from the Wayland Corp, the Wayland.
Yeah, but who made them?
Yeah.
Brian Sharp's here. He said he'd protect you, Chad.
What? Brian's here. Hey, you know, Brian, I was in Arizona, but I didn't come see it because of the COVIDs. I wanted to, but you're also building your new house. I haven't seen Brian forever. Brian was in Mexico too.
I met Brian at Phoenix Con. He's a fellow Colossus fan. So,
you know what? You should have told me. I would have done Colossus instead of Joker. I got Joker over here waiting in Procreate here.
Oh, nice.
You know, ask Brian if he got his books today. Ask him if he got The Art of Chad Hardin Volume 3.
He hears you. Did you get your books today? Because that's what he said. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're waiting for him to answer. So we've talked Star Wars and everything. You and I actually talked for almost an hour. He said, "What the?" I was gonna say he just said he'd protect you, and you're like, "Yeah, I was there and I didn't see you." It probably wasn't a good time to let him know that.
Well, he was also building. He's also first of all, I'm one of these guys like I'm not necessarily afraid of the virus, but if I gave the virus to someone and it hurt him, I would never forgive myself.
Right, and he's got kids and stuff, so
yeah. So I don't know.
He said he didn't get any books yet.
Not yet. A lot of people in Phoenix have already got their books, so I was wondering.
I don't know. You know what? Brian's is probably at his neighbor's house. They're probably still getting there, like, oh, cool, new books. Hey, John Huntinger, how are you, sir? So let's get to your career. I mean, how old were you when you started drawing, and what got you into drawing?
4 years old. 4 years
old.
So the first memory I have was having eye surgery. I got this eye right here. This is my lazy eye, and they tried to fix it. They basically do the surgery, and if they basically correct it when you're young, a lot of people are born with lazy eyes, but there's a corrective surgery, and I think it works like 90% of the time. And I was one of those people it didn't work on.
Oh boy!
But that was like my first memory. But I think it was mostly successful because it's not like my eye goes like up into my brain.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
you don't do the Undertaker.
There's some people that have some pretty bad lazy eyes. Mine's not that bad, but that was my first memory. And I remember like waking up in the hospital, and this is before Game Boys. This is before anything. And so all there was to do in the hospital was like scribble on a pad of paper. And I remember I would draw the Saturday morning cartoons. And then even when I went home, basically there wasn't a lot to do until the healing process was over. And so to entertain myself, I drew to entertain myself. And it just sort of stuck. So I started drawing at like 4, never stopped drawing. It was the only thing I was ever good at. Like my brothers were all like, my older brother like lettered in 3 sports. My younger brother lettered in 4. They were like the Bo Jacksons, and I couldn't. Well, first of all, I played Little League until I was like 16. And then after like coming in with like a broken nose for like the 5th time, the doctor told my mom, like, this kid cannot see in stereoscopic vision. He goes, if you keep making him play sports, I'm going to report you to, family services. They're like, stop putting him in front of fast flying objects. He cannot. He has no depth perception.
90-mile-an-hour hard balls are not good for the guy with a vision issue.
Right, exactly. So anyway,
depth perception.
They finally gave up on trying to make me an athlete, and it's all I did. It's all I did. I didn't do anything but draw. I drew 4 to 6 hours a day.
Nice.
And by the time I got out of high school, I was better than a lot of my college students are graduating. So I was pretty far ahead of everybody else. But that's because
you like to draw.
I started out with Saturday morning cartoons, but around 12 years old, my dad would work hard all week long. And then when, Friday at 3:00, when he got off work, we were going somewhere doing something, and we would either go to Lake Mead and water ski, or we would go to the Colorado River down by Laughlin, Boulder City area in Nevada. We'd fish off the Colorado, or we'd go up to Penguins Lake and we'd ride 3-wheelers or go fishing at Penguins Lake. And when we went to Penguins Lake, that's like a 3-hour drive. That was a rough drive when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And so what happened is they would stop at the gas station to fill up with gas, and they had all the comic books. And I noticed, one of my favorite cartoons was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And then I noticed in the comic rack, they had, I think it was Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 11, where Spider-Man fought evil Iron Man from the far future of 2016. And I think that was the first comic I ever bought off the spinner rack in whatever 7-Eleven gas station it was. And that just sort of became a tradition. I would basically, anytime we would go, my parents would always let me buy one comic book going up and then one comic book going back.
That's cool.
And then I met my friend Mark Barrio Nuevo, who was a real comic nerd, and he took me to a comic book store, and that was it. That was it. We went to a comic store called Page After Page in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that was nuts. And there were other comic book stores, but he lived right close to Page After Page. But when I started going to high school, there was Friendly Neighborhood Comics, was walking distance from Western High, so I would walk out of Western High and go buy comics at Friendly Neighborhood. So my first comic store was Page After Page, but for the first 6 years of me collecting, it was all Friendly Neighborhood Comics run by Mary and Joe Heiner. Mary just passed away, I think this last year. And anyway, bought comics there, and then one of the kids that Tom and Mary shut it down, and then I shopped. There was another comic book store that opened up about 2 blocks away called Dreamwell, and I bought comics there until my mid-20s. And then my friend Robert, who used to work at Friendly Neighborhood, went and bought out Dreamwell. And so I bought comics from him for a couple of years. But then, by that time, I was going to school in Southern Utah. All my family lived in Las Vegas, but I was an illustration major at Southern Utah University in Cedar City, Utah. And so it got pretty sporadic there, where, I wasn't there every Wednesday picking up my books. I was there every 3 months picking up my books. But they knew I was coming. They always knew I was coming. So, but yeah, I mean, dude, I think I have just about every comic from about, I don't know, about 87 up, really. I mean, I'm 62 issues away from having the entire run of X-Men. I'm about 29. Yeah. So I'm getting pretty. So X-Men, Amazing Spider-Man, I'm really close. And every year, my wife will usually let me buy an issue that's a couple thousand.
My wife will let
me. If I'm good. And she runs it. I'd be a hobo right now. I'd be on a corner with a cup right now.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I met you for the first time at Amazing Las Vegas 4 years ago. 3 years ago.
So 2016?
Actually, it was 2017. I think I
Okay.
met you. No, you know what? It was 2018. It was the summer of 2000. So it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I approached you because I was putting on my first show, and I met her, and she was handling your table so you could draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was taking care of business for you.
Yeah.
She was very nice. She was very nice.
She is. She is generally one of the nicest people on the planet. Knows nothing about comics though.
She knew. Look, she knew enough to handle everything while you were drawing, though, because you were head down, you were drawing.
Yeah.
You looked up, you talked to me, you were friendly, but she was taking care of business, so you could just draw.
Well, then, and that's it's funny. Like a lot of people go to these shows. Well, we were talking about like me first starting out. Okay. There's Brian. Yeah, it's true. It's true though. So a lot of people would go to these shows, and it was sort of like they're people, and it's that way for me, especially right now with COVID. Like you realize like how much of your con family, like how a lot of these people have become like really good friends, and
sure.
And your fans too. But when I started up, I told you we sold our house, and then the economy crashed, and I had kids. I had 4 kids living in the same.
I got kids to feed.
Yeah. So like when they first started inviting me to shows, and people are coming up and being like, "Hey, will you draw this?" Like I was there to work. I was there to work, and there were times where, like all my friends be like, "Hey, come have drinks with us. We're gonna go do this. We're gonna do that." I was always in my hotel room drawing. Always in my hotel room drawing. So, and it was really funny. We had I think it was on Billy's show, his Pop XL.
Yeah.
And we were talking about con experiences, and you could tell like a lot of those guys, like it was cons were a time to sort of cut loose. They're like, "Chad, what's your con experience?" Like, I was in my room drawing.
Not Billy. Billy's like, I was smoking cigars. We were drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
we had a blast, man. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny too. Like if there was one year where Todd came up to my booth at Comic-Con, Todd McFarlane, and you talk about a geek out experience, dude. Like I was like, and Billy's like, I see Todd all the, Todd, I see
Billy's
Todd.
friends with everybody.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, well, great. It's not a big deal for you. It's a big deal for me.
Right?
So, but see, here's the funny thing. I do the same thing about Billy. I did the same thing about Jimmy.
Sure.
Like Jimmy and Amanda. And I know Jimmy well enough now that it's not like the geek out section, but yeah,
right.
like the first. The whole time I'm working with them, I'm trying not to geek out. Be like, yeah, Jimmy, I got like every issue you've ever done, and hey, will you ink this for me? When he hasn't inked nothing, and he doesn't, he prefers to just write,
Right.
And if he draws, he draws for his pleasure. He doesn't draw, for a paycheck.
Right.
But no, I'm with that. I'm with all those guys. Like, okay, so we went down to Coffin to drop off those books for the Art of Chad Hardin Volume 3. I was geeking. I'm so glad that Brian wasn't there. It was just for Francisca and Brandy, because I was like, I was like a kid. I was like a Willy Wonka. You know what I mean? Like, it was like one of the coolest things I've ever had happen to me in my life, And it's just because I'm a giant comic nerd. And so there's a part of me that I really wanted to see Brian, but at the same time, it's just like I'm glad he wasn't there because he'd have been like, "This guy's get him before he steals something." But no. So all these guys. It was the same thing with DC. I got to do a DC event, and Jim Lee was there, and I'm just like don't I have to tell myself don't say nothing, don't act stupid, don't do something stupid.
Don't speak.
Don't try to kidnap him.
Yeah. I've got Jim Lee in my pocket. I'm leaving.
But I still do it though. I still do it. And here's it's just crazy though. A couple years back we went to Stockton, and I had I had Dan Barrington on one side of me, and I had Joyce Chin and Arthur Adams on the other side.
Yeah.
And I Arthur Adams the reason I got into comics. When I picked up X-Men Annual 10, where he did the X Babies.
Yep.
I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know. And now he's sitting next to me, and we're talking, you know, and I'm like, yeah. But there's a part of me that is just like, I need a Valium, or you know, I need a, you know, but you know, inside, like your heart's going a million miles an hour, and it's like the best thing ever. So, but anyway.
Real quick, Dell's in the house. He said he's here. Everybody put your clothes back on.
I just getting started.
I'm not sure I understand the question. Locksmith was asking what was the inspiration of Blue Beetle. I don't know if he meant like, you know, with, you know, for you to do the book or not, but Locksmith, if you want to just elaborate on that for me. And Dell wanted to ask, do you think Blue Beetle deserves more love? His origin story is good and Powers was something else.
So I did very little with Blue Beetle. It was just sort of one of these things where DC was like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, and I did it. But as far as like creation and stuff like that, I mean, it was just like, here's the script, you draw this. That's as much as my, you know, so all the stuff, you know, and when you talk about the books like that I was really involved with at DC, where I actually had some input, most of that would have been around Warlord with Mike Grell, and then Zatanna, nice. and then obviously you know, Jimmy and Amanda with Harley,
right,
and then Jimmy and Amanda with Wonder Woman. All the other stuff I've done just for everybody else, it was almost just like, you know, here it is, and I was only there for a couple issues, sort of in and out type of deal.
Okay.
And then I had a really long run on Dragon Age, and I shouldn't say a really long run, but it was a year. I had a year on Dragon Age and a year on The Traveler. So Harley was the only book where I spent years on Harley. So that would be the only one where I was really sort of involved with a lot of stuff.
That's what you're most known for.
Yeah. Everything else was just you know, in and out. You know, there's, and I think that's a lot more common today in comics. Like Ryan Otley is one of the only guys I know that's sort of in my age group, my peer group, that has like over 100 issues. And I'm sure there might be more than just Ryan, but right. It's not as common, you know, to get the people that have like 100 issue.
Oops. Right. See. He said he's got to bounce. Miss you, Chad. If you ever come to my city again and not hit me up, there will be consequences.
I promise.
Take it easy, Brian.
I shouldn't have even gone, but nothing was going to stop me from going to see Brian Pulido. Brian Pulido was
like, it's the wrong Brian, damn it.
But I didn't want to give COVID to everyone. I'm a little bit paranoid that way. But when COVID's over, I'll be at your house mooching everything, Brian.
So going back, how did you get your start in the industry? I mean, how did you get in? What's your story?
Well, I did the stupid thing. You know, you asked, one of the things you asked me was, what would I not do? So for the longest time, in the back of the comic books, they're like, send your submissions, your artwork submissions to the submissions editor, and you know, and Marvel and DC both had that. And I can't tell you how many submissions I sent to that, and I would always get the same very polite rejection letter back. You know, hey, this looks pretty good, but you need to work on.
Right.
You need to work on that everything that every artist still needs to work on: anatomy, perspective, blah 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 blah.
Everything.
Stuff that you're going to work on till you die, right? So I always got like really nice letters of rejection, and I just remember thinking it was around my 30th birthday. I remember thinking, and I had been okay, and then one time I got really close. I went to a con. Went to a Comic-Con, and it was a weird year. Like Marvel didn't have a booth. DC had a booth, but Marvel didn't have a booth. But CB was bouncing from booth to booth doing portfolio reviews for Marvel back when he was the talent scout. And he basically was like, yeah, dude, come to Marvel. We'll hook you up. And he was like, here, and he gave me a sample script. He's like, do these pages, get them back to me. and let's see it. And I went home and I think I did like 6 or 8 pages of it was like Ultimate X-Men. It was Ultimate X-Men. And and then I tried to send it back. I sent it back, heard nothing. And then I had like Mike Marks. I had Mike Marks. So I had CB's business card. I had Mike Marks' business card. And I'm sending stuff to him, and I'm like, going, now, why would these guys give me their business card? And then when I send the samples that they asked to see, not say anything. Anyway, I finally got up the balls one day to call the number on the card just to be like, hey, man, I just want to know, are you even getting my samples? Right. And I called the number, and they're like, oh, yeah, those guys left. Oh, so it's like, so I finally get someone's business card, from Marvel, and then I'm basically sending samples to people that left the company. And ironically, Mike went over to DC and was my editor on Harley.
Okay.
But
so
anyway.
What happened when you sent those samples to the ether?
And this is the bad part about being a kid. Instead of just talking to the guy on the phone, being like, hey, well, hey, they asked for these samples and I sent it to them, and can I send them to you? Like, that would have been the intelligent thing to say, but instead, I think the conversation went more like, oh, and I hung up. What kids do, and anyway, but
and they didn't even look to say to you, oh, what samples, what were they like? They didn't even like look into.
Wow. No, you got to understand, Marvel and DC probably get like when they used to hold these events at the cons, where you had to attend like a talent search panel before, and they would give you like a packet to fill out, and you had to take that packet and you had to send the packet in with your portfolio, and basically what you're signing in that packet was like, whatever you give to us is ours, and you can't sue us, all this legalese stuff. But I remember being at that panel, and one time one of the guys got up and spoke. He goes, you guys got to understand. He goes, we get 1.3 million submissions a year for art.
Wow.
He goes, and we maybe hire 2 or 3 new artists a year.
Wow.
He goes, so if you get in with us, you've beat out.
That's crazy.
Artists. It's harder to get into Marvel than it is to get in the NFL.
That's crazy.
And but anyway, I submitted stuff that year to Marvel and DC, and DC, and this is what I love about DC. And I guess I am dissing Marvel, but I'm not doing it on purpose. DC's always just a little bit more organized, a little bit more professional.
I heard that, and they pay more.
Yeah, and so I turned my stuff into DC, and when I came back to like the DC booth, they're like, watch these monitors. If your name's on that monitor, that means you made the cut, and we want to have a sit down with you. And so I went to the DC booth and I watched the monitor, and sure enough, my name was on the monitor. And you go to the Marvel booth, you're like, did I make the cut? And they're like, I don't even know who. They're like, dude, I'm just like, nobody knows nothing, and and you're just like.
How did you feel when you saw you made the cut DC? Your name's on the screen.
I took pictures, like me and my friends, we took pictures. Yeah. It was a geek out moment. And so you make the cut, and what they do is they pull you. And you got to understand how much things have changed. But back then, they pulled you into this room. So then they had like this secondary talent review. Like after you made the cut, they had this secondary talent review. And what happened is they would pass your portfolio around to every editor in that room, okay? And if that editor was interested in working with you, they would give you their card, and then they would sign this list. Well, I had like 8 editors that were interested in working with me.
That's great.
But I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? I didn't know what like all the, you got to understand, like for me, like coming into this, like, I grew up in Las Vegas. I didn't grow up in New York. I didn't have anybody that was like mentoring me or anything. Like, I'm learning all this stupid crap out like as I went. And so I get in this room and I sit down, and the first person I sit down in front of is Richard Bruning, who was the vice president at DC at the time. And he does the Eric Larson thing, rips me a new one, And
Just so you all know, he told me a story about Eric Larson. He can tell it again in a little bit. That's what he's referring to. But
Eric Larson
portfolio review of Eric Larson.
You've never been reviewed your portfolio. You've never had your portfolio reviewed until Eric Larson reviews your portfolio. So
he ripped him a new one.
If you want to get in the comics, go have Eric Larson.
He devastated Twitch friends and then never drew again.
Yeah. So anyway, so I get all these cards, but then once again. You almost sort of even after you get those cards, you have to know like who the gatekeeper is, so to speak. And at Marvel it was CB, and this is the weird thing. CB like left Marvel and then he came back to Marvel.
Right.
So you really have to be like in the know. You have to know like who's making the decisions, who's really calling the shots. And so after the talent review, I had all these guys' information, their emails, their business cards, their all this stuff, and I sent samples for a year to everybody that gave me their card. So I sent samples to Mad Magazine, I sent samples to Vertigo,
nice.
I sent samples to DC is split between the Batman group and the Superman group, so it was like Eddie Berganza at the Batman group, and I think Mike Martz was, Mike Martz was Batman group, and then Eddie was Superman group. And so I'm sending everybody samples. I hear nothing back, and I go back to the Comic-Con, the year after that, and I run into Clement Schwab. Now Clement's since passed away. He passed away of cancer. It's probably been 10 years now, but I ran into him at the Artist Alley. And I just said, I was like, man, I love your work. This is great stuff. And he goes, hey, I see you got a portfolio. Let me see your work. And so I showed him my portfolio. He goes, man, you're good. Why aren't you working in comics? I was like, dude, I don't know. I was like, it's weird. I was like, I made the DC talent. I got the DC, talent review. Like, they said I was good enough to work for them. I got all their business cards. I've been sending them like updates on stuff like all year long. And I don't hear anything. I'm like, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And he goes, you need to talk to Mark Chiarello. Here's Mark's email. You go email Mark right now. And I went and emailed Mark from like the hotel, and I went and got on the, paid like $1 for the hotel internet,
right.
And emailed Mark. And sure enough, like the second I started talking to Mark Chiarello, Joey Cavallari gives me a call. And I was over the moon. And what had happened, even with Joey though, he had an artist that was on a book, got in a car wreck, and broke his arm.
Oh, jeez.
So it literally has to be one of these situations where it's like they really need somebody and they don't have somebody, and you better be ready. But I do remember when Joey finally called me and said, "Do you want to work on?" He goes, "I have 2 books." He goes, "I have a 6-page assignment. I have a 22-page assignment. Which one do you want?" And I was telling you, I was in the single wide trailer with the kids. I was doing Blood Rain pages for $25 a page.
Oh, jeez.
And so Joey Cavallari calls me up and offers me something that's paying like 5-10 times that rate.
Right, and 22 pages of it, which is
right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want both. I was like,
Nice.
I want both. Give me both
Nice.
right now. And he goes, well, I'm only going to give you the one, but I'll give you the 22-page one. And that was Countdown to Mystery with Lila Sturgis, and it was a lot of fun, and it was Spectre and Eclipso, and it was but I do remember like I froze up. I froze up that first page. Like all of a sudden I got imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'm not good enough to be doing this. But Joey was like the best editor I could have ever had in that situation, because he was really good at talking me down. I was like, dude, he goes like, you got this. He goes, this is even a hard page.
Right.
He's just like, just redo it. He goes, just calm down, redo it. Joey really, really was responsible for my career at DC, Joey Cavallari. And because I think if I had gotten an editor who was a little bit more of a hard nose, he'd just been like, no, I don't have time. I don't have the patience,
Right.
Go away.
Well, you said you're learning as you go, so you need to have a bit of a mentor.
Yeah, and he was a great mentor.
Yeah.
Great mentor to have, and I'm so thankful to him. Gosh, so thankful. Worked for him almost 14 years straight.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, that and then that's how I got in. And then if you want to know how to work for Marvel, start working for DC. Because the second you have a name on a DC book, Marvel will call you up and try and headhunt you. That's how it works.
And at least you'll learn better from DC because Marvel's so disorganized. You'll be like a year ahead.
It was just so like, well, here's what happened. Like DC call you up and be like, hey, do you want to do Zatanna with Paul Dini? And then Marvel call you up and be like, hey, do you want to do a one shot of Deathlock? And I'm like, who's Deathlock? you know it's bad when I haven't heard it. Being a comic nerd, when you don't know, like I'm like, are you talking about like the dead cyborg guy? Like, I was like, I think I'm going to go with Paul Dini and Zatanna. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just the way it always was. Like DC always had the better assignment, the better writer.
And you have to do that too. It's not just getting work, but you have to get work where you get recognized, where you'll build a fan base that wants to follow you, and that's how you get to other better books. Yeah. If you're starting on a book that's going to last 6 issues because it's not selling, well, you might fall into obscurity again. You have to hit a home run. You have to be on something, a character that's going to bring you attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that was another part of my problem. Even when I got in with DC and Marvel, I basically I got the reputation for being the bailout guy.
Okay, that's good.
Because so I told you that like Joey brought me in to save this book because his artist broke his arm. I think I only had like 20 days to get that first issue done. Oh, and that's back when I think it was 24 pages of book back then.
Wow.
Because I distinctly remember when they lowered it from 24 pages to 22.
Right.
And I was like, like, woo! And then when they lowered it from 22 to 20, I'm like, yeah. And now it's like 16. I'm like, and then at 16, you're like going, who can't draw 20 pages? Anyway.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I'm gonna let you know we have like 30 questions from Dell alone.
Maybe we should answer Dell.
Yeah. Dell is a regular. He's part of my quote unquote rogues gallery.
Okay.
Those are the guys that are they're the faithful people. I shouldn't say just guys, gals too. They're the faithful that come every show. And Dell is my question guy. I mean, he comes locked and loaded, man, ready to go. He's got a bunch of questions because I do want to get into, you and Harley and all that stuff. And then what you're doing now, some indie stuff. But let's address some of these questions before I fall behind. He asked, who inspires your art style?
I would say the biggest influence on my style were definitely all the Image founders. Those were the guys who I was just like, when they say they were the rock stars, when they were, they were the comics gods, it really was true. And I bought every Image book I could, and I want to say Rob Liefeld was probably the biggest influence on me because simply because I thought he was more approachable. Like I would look at like Silvestri stuff and be like, I can't do that. And
I always thought Silvestri, I don't know why he doesn't get Jim Lee attention because he's incredible.
He doesn't seek it.
That's true too.
He doesn't seek it.
He just, to me, Mark Silvestri is legendary. Oh.
Yeah, no, and I think if you ask any of the Image guys who the best artist was, I think they'd all tell you Silvestri was the best artist.
Oh, I do. Look, I love Jim Lee, but I really think Silvestri is a better artist for sure.
Yeah. But and don't get me wrong, I still tried. It's just that for whatever reason, and even when you're a kid, that you got to understand, like 16, 17 years old, you're looking at Mark Silvestri. He was probably only 30,
right?
But to me, that was an old man.
Right.
Whereas Rob was almost like he was the same age as my brother. And somehow that made it more approachable, more doable.
Sure. Your peer. You felt more like a peer to him because of age.
Right.
You're not going to the principal of the school. You were going to the teacher's aide.
And it was so like, Norm and Murat and all those guys, like, when they came to Las Vegas, that's when I first met them. Is when they came to Vegas. There's a convention in Vegas, and the Extreme was doing a tour, and so they came to the convention. Mm-hmm. They were basically my age. I mean, Murat maybe was 2 years older than me.
Right.
And but they were doing it like, and I wanted to be there so bad. I wanted to be there so like I was like I'll drive the bus. Like I just want to be, I want to be around it, And
well, Norm is preserved by all the sugar. Norm doesn't age anymore. Kind of like embalming fluid. The sugar is keeping Norm at his present state.
I bet it's probably more to do with. I bet you Tamara makes him eat really healthy, because whenever he has candy, he always has this sort of look that he's not supposed to be eating it.
I'm just telling you now. When I picked him up at the airport, I'm like, look, I'll take you to get something to eat, and he just wanted McDonald's.
Norm?
Yeah.
Norm wanted McDonald's. Was it McRib season or?
No, he just wanted some crappy ass burgers and fries. I'm like, really? That's all you want, McDonald's?
You can take me to a nice place. I'll go to a nice place.
Yeah, he was happy as a pig in slop. Dell also asked, is there a goal that you want to reach? I guess that you haven't yet.
I would really, okay, so this is what I'm learning about creator-owned and self-publishing. You've got to devote 100% of your life to doing that. And I learned that with Hellbringers. This last Kickstarter I did, you were asking me about some of the other Kickstarters I've done. So there was the Art of Chad Hardin Volume 1 and 2, and we just got done with 3. And that was literally, I had a student at Southern Utah University. I taught adjunct before I was a full-time professor. And I had a student at Southern Utah University named Jimmy Young. And after she graduated, we just became friends. And now, like, her husband's like my best friend. And, we hang out way too much. But anyway, Jimmy literally was like, give me your phone. I'm like, why? What do you need my phone for? She's like, I get all the pictures off your phone. Because what I would do is I go to, and Jimmy used to go to, when I went to a convention, she would help me at the shows. Because Joy was home we had 4 small children. So so Joy was home with the kids, and Jimmy would go to me with the shows. So I would draw the commissions or whatnot, and then I'd always take a picture on my phone, just to because sometimes they were nice drawings, And sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they were, But I'd have all these nice drawings, and she literally just got to the point where she knew there was like 1,000 pictures on my phone of like every commission I'd ever done, every show. And she literally just took all the pictures off my phone, and that's what the art books are. They're literally just all those commissions that I've done, throughout the years. And that's what the art books are. So and she ran those Kickstarters. She did everything. I drew the pictures. I gave her the pictures off my phone. She did everything else. And it was sort of the same with Temerity. Like we did Temerity. We did her first creator-owned with Temerity. And we did fine. We did 20,000, our first Kickstarter with Temerity, just under. It was like 18.9.
Nice.
Just under 20. And I remember that because I really wanted us to hit 20,000 to unlock like one more stretch goal, but we were just shy. We just, but rounding up, we were at 20,000. And I remember thinking I was a little disappointed, because you watch like Brian Polito, you watch all these guys, and you watch all of them doing this stuff. You're like, man, I didn't make 350,000 like Brian Polito did, And what you don't understand though is every time you do something, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're starting over at the ground floor.
Right.
And I really didn't get that when we did Temerity, because once again, all I was doing was the artwork and Jim was doing everything else. So it wasn't until we did Hellbringers where I was basically doing everything. And when I say doing everything, like I was basically the person in charge,
Right.
And don't get me wrong, like I shouldn't even say I was the person in charge. It was Mark's. So
Mark May.
Mark May is the creator of Hellbringers. He created the collectible card game. He did Hellbringers issue number 0. And he came to me and he wanted me to draw the book. I was like, Mark, I don't have the time. I said, but I got these kids that are really good. I was like, what if I just sort of oversaw it, and we'll have one of my students do it, and you and I can basically call the shots. And And it wasn't until we did Hellbringers where I really sort of figured out what it was like to actually make a comic and not just draw the pictures, but like, you know, be the editor.
Right.
You know, and all of a sudden you're like going, oh my God, like this is so much work. I was like, I thought it was
you
hard.
already have a full-time job.
Yeah. I'm like, I thought it was hard just drawing the pages. But like being in, you know, like making sure that like the cut one, and Russ did the colors. Russ was easy. And Russ was like, here you go, done, you know. And the McLean was the same way. But see, so then what happened is like we got the colors back, we got the lettering back, and it was my first book. And so, you know, I basically take it to Gemma, and I'm like, okay, Gemma, you know, go get it printed. And Jim was like, Chad, you can't do these fonts, you can't do these colors, it won't print. I didn't know anything about like the color correction. You know what I mean? So, you know, anyway, everybody that was involved in Hellbringers, like, you know, hats off to Russ. I mean, you know, Russ was so patient, and then McLean was so patient. I mean, I look back at that, I'm like, these guys have to hate my guts. You know what I mean? So, like, who is this moron? Like, what he's been working on, and he doesn't know this stuff, you know. And you know, but no, they were actually really great. And geez, I don't know if McLean's on or not, but he might still be doing edits. I don't know, you know. But anyway, so I mean, it was a huge eye opener. It was an eye opener enough that like, you know, Mark's like, hey, let's do this again. I'm like, dude, you got to do the next 2 issues. You know? I was like, I'll help you with the covers.
I was talking to Mark today. He's going to do the follow-up to Hellbringers, yeah. So I'm going to fit him in, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but I'm already booked. But I'm going to add a show to have him in on December so he could talk about Hellbringers too. Good. And he's welcome to bring the creative team aboard, whoever's involved too. Yeah. Patrick, who was actually Locksmith, he had asked, and this goes with what we're talking about, are there any characters of your own you would like to create? So with Hellbringers, is it Mark May's character and you're working on the book, or did you co-create?
I basically, you know, so what happened is I bought the license to do, so it's a licensed product.
Okay.
You know, so Mark still owns all the characters. I told him that. I'm like, look, dude, I'm not trying to take anything from you. You know what I mean? Like, right. Because I know how attached people can get to their creations.
Sure.
You know, I'm not trying to take anything from you. I was like, just give me the license. I'll do this book. And then I was like, and when we're done with this book, if we want to do more, we can do more. And if we hate each other at the end of this book, we don't ever have to talk to each other again, you know, because there were some stressful moments. I mean, Mark got a heart attack on his book. It's stressful, man. It's stressful, you know, about killed us both, you know. And, but anyway, you know, we got done with it. And here's the thing, you got to understand. So I'm like 3 pages away from having Temerity issue 2 done.
Nice.
And we pushed Temerity to do Hellbringers. So I owe it to Gemma to come back to Temerity. And I love Temerity. And Temerity is doing really well. On Webtoons, we're kicking butt.
Well, give us a little bit what's Temerity about, and then tell us what Hellbringers is about. Entice the readers that they want to get this book.
So Hellbringers is basically fantasy. Okay, so it's all of our sword and sorcery. So if you're into Conan, you're into Red Sonja, you're into, you know, I was going to say Lord of the Rings, but we're not that highbrow. Okay, you know, it's more of a Conan, sword and sorcery, D&D,
Frazetta kind of stuff.
Yeah, Frazetta type stuff. Yeah, that's our book. You know, Hellbringers, and and our story revolves around Lilith. You know, Lucifer's left hell, and there's a power vacuum, and Lilith is the queen of hell, and there's a lot of people that want that spot, and so she has to fight to retain it. That's Hellbringers. Temerity is the space opera. Okay, it's the Star Wars, and it actually is more like it's more like Guardians of the Galaxy meets Firefly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Except the Temerity is actually like a really awesome ship. You know, like the Firefly was sort of a piece of crap. You know, it didn't have weapon systems, didn't have shields. The Temerity is actually sort of it can scrap. So, but yeah, so basically Temerity is about the crew of this ship, and they basically come across a genetically enhanced super soldier who is wanted by both the people that made him and the enemies of the people fighting the genetic super soldier. So then they have to decide whether or not they keep him on board the ship or they turn him over. And because if they keep him as a member of the crew, then they're basically wanted by everybody in the galaxy.
Okay, cool.
And so anyway, it's a lot of fun, and we're getting to like the really good parts. Like we're getting to the point where the fans are like really freaking out about stuff we're posting. And then I basically had to take, and this is the really hard part about doing the creator own. You know, we're not to the point where anything that we're doing is self-sustainable. You know, so like I'll do Temerity or I'll do Hellbringers or whatnot, but then I'll have to turn around and do like 4 or 5 issues of like a DC book.
Right.
You know, and because that's what pays for this
Right.
stuff. So the first book I do that is sustainable, you know, where I create a character and we make enough money, and I'm hoping that it's Temerity too. You know, but the first time we do something like that where it's like, hey, you know, we made enough money on this crowdfunder or whatever that I can make this my job. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to put all my energy behind doing that. So,
well, it's a lot more work, but it's also more rewarding.
It's so much more rewarding. You know, I mean, it's exciting. Like, okay, like when Birds of Prey came out, and they put your name in the movie. That was really exciting. That was like one of the biggest highlights of my life. You know, and once again, thanks to Jimmy and Amanda and Dan DiDio and Jim Lee and everybody that made that possible at DC, because that really was, for me, that was like a once in a lifetime thing, you know. But now the challenge is like, hey, can I do the same thing with something I created?
Sure.
You know, and
absolutely.
I think, you know, I think a lot, and and here's the other thing, I love making, there's one thing about making comics with like people you don't really know, but you're all sort of geeks. Like making a comic with Mark, you know, like Mark and I are friends, and like Jim and I are friends. It's a lot more fun when you're doing stuff with friends, but sometimes it is hard because not everybody gets along. Not everybody is the same personality type, you know. And but anyway,
it's kind of like a rock band, though. Think about it. You guys are marrying each other in a way, and the successful rock bands, they gel, they have chemistry, they can get through the arguments and stuff because they generally just like each other.
Yeah. But it is interesting though. Like every single one of us is eccentric in our own ways, and we all have our idiosyncrasies. Right. And it's funny though. Like you got to be able to see past your own idiosyncrasies. If you really want to get along, right? Because there's a lot of people that will be like, "Oh, well, this so and so is like this," and I'm like, "Hey, man, are you looked in a mirror? Like, you're pretty funky yourself. you know what I mean? Like, you know, so you have to get over yourself a little bit." But it's one of the things I love the most about comics. Like, comics is generally full of good people, and there are some bad actors. There are some,
right?
But for the most part, if you're nice to somebody, they're going to be nice to you,
right? And
you know, if you don't go picking fights, you're going to do okay. It's the people that come in and sort of stir the pot. I'm trying. I don't know how close your girls are. I haven't seen them yet.
No, they're asleep. They're asleep. So right, don't worry. Don't worry about it.
I keep catching myself like mid-swear.
By the way, I don't know if he's still on because he said this a little while ago, but Jesse Hagee, a colorist, he said Chad's got super unique art style. Love those lines. Jesse, if you look, he colors a no, jams. Those two jams.
Jesse does a lot of my colors too, especially for
those are Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, I love Jesse. Jesse, do I owe you money or do I got you paid up?
I don't know if he's still on, but we'll find out. By the way, also, Del wants to know if you're available for commissions.
Del, okay, let me tell you something. I got to get caught up on everything I'm doing right now. I got to get so I have 99% of the time when I do a commission, I do it at a show, and the person asks for the commission, and the next day I hand them their book back and they get the commission. That's how commissions go 99% of the time. That 1% of the time, commissions go sideways. And I have like 10 commissions right now that are the commissions that went sideways. and I've got to make sure those people get their commissions before I start doing any more.
So a little hold before you'll let everybody know when you're ready to take them again.
I want to have that slate cleared. I don't want people to be like, dude, I've been waiting a year for this. Where's it at? And I know that and here's the thing. And usually those are people who I know and I trust really well, like Josh, Josh, is Josh. This is what happens when you get old, dude.
I trust really well. I just don't know their name.
I can see it. He's Jay Lee's rep. Josh.
Oh, Jay Lee's rep?
Yeah.
No, that's
See, you're doing it too.
Wow. No, it's Moy, Albert Moy.
No, it's
yeah, Albert Moy reps Jay Lee.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Huh.
Well, we'll get back to it.
Anyway.
By the way, Russ Cassidy, just want to let you know that it's Game of Thrones in Hell, Hellbringers. That's what he calls it.
There you go. See, we should have Russ on speaking. Russ
can come on anytime too. And if he wants to talk to Mark May, they can come on as a creative team. But so if you like fantasy, Game of Thrones in Hell is Hellbringers, and is there a late pledge going on right now?
Yeah, we have the backer kit. So if you missed out on the Kickstarter, and we have like 75 people that have already done late pledges. So yeah,
nice. So all right, go look it up right now. Kickstarter Hellbringers, okay, and
get out there and sign up right now. And then Mark's already working. Mark has I think so. Mark has the third.
He said he's launching in December. Yeah,
right. He's got the third card set coming out, and then he has the prequel Hellbringers. Oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. I'm too old, man. I'm too old.
Chad needs a marketing team, people.
I need a teleprompter. Right here. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. He's like, Chad.
Heather says that it really is an amazing group of people in the industry.
Yeah, it is. It is. There are characters, but for the most part, if you're nice to people, they're nice back. So
I just recently posted Ian Churchill, who's one of my favorite artists of all times, and he's such a great person. And then there's like Norm, and there's Billy, and there's Sean Chen. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that if you meet that one person that didn't live up to the expectations because you enjoyed their work, you respected and admired, and then they kind of let you down with their personality. It's a shame that we tend to, as humans, gravitate to that one person. But honestly, most of the people are really cool, down-to-earth people. Yeah. So.
Well, and here's the other thing. If you have a bad experience with a creator, maybe that creator's just having a really shitty day.
Right.
Like
they're getting thousands of people coming to them every day at a table. Maybe you just...
I'll give you an example. First, I love Dave Johnson. Okay? But the first time I met Dave Johnson, he was going through a divorce. I was like, this guy's, the next time I see him, he's fine. He's happy. He's like, hey, Chad, what's going on? And I was like, who are you? And what did you do with, and then there's 2 years where Joy and I separated because comics is rough on relationships. Comics is rough. And if you would have come up to me in those 2 years, I probably wasn't even sober for 2 years. Yeah. I mean, God's honest truth. I don't even want to think of how many brain cells I killed, So
still people. Deep down at the end of the day, you're still just people.
And you don't know if they're having a good day or bad day. You don't know if their mom has cancer,
Right.
So just be a little patient. Be a little patient. Give them 2 or 3 chances. And there's some people that we know. You and I can both.
And that's the thing is, those people already developed that reputation where going in, you should know going in.
Right. And we all know who those people are, but everything else, give them a second or third chance.
Russ brings up Liefeld. Now, here's the thing: I hear things about Liefeld on business ends and this and that, and I'm not here to take sides on good guy, bad guy. All I can do is take him on how he was with me. And when I met him, he actually was awesome. He had a line of hundreds of people, and he took a moment to speak to me about coming to my show. Then I spoke to, his rep, David Hong. And
I love David.
Yeah, and then but Rob was listening while we were talking, and he made the effort to come back to me, shake my hand, and say, and talk to me. He didn't have to do that. He could have blew me off, said talk to David goodbye. He didn't. He showed respect to me. He gave me his time when he had hundreds of people online. So I don't know about that other stuff firsthand. I mean, and I feel for those people if they did go through that. But as far as how Rob was with me, I can't say anything bad. I can't.
Well, and here's the other thing that happens, okay? And I cannot imagine the level of this that happened to me was annoying when I was on Harley, and Harley was a popular book. I cannot imagine when you get to the point where people want something from you, and they stop thinking of you as a person and more as a commodity.
Right.
They treat you like absolute shit.
Right.
Okay. And I mean, like, I'm not kidding you. Like, there are times where people came up to me and they're like, I want 100 commissions and I want them for $20 a pop, because I'm like, dude, this isn't the fucking Ford factory line.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you don't get a discount for volume.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
well, because first of all, you're not pumping them out that fast. It still takes time. The commissions still take that much time.
And so there have been shows where I've sat, like, I was here, the flags were here, and then Rob was here. And people do that to Rob, and they expect some form of graciousness. And 99% of the time, Rob's like gracious about it. But then at one point in time, like, sometimes you're going to fucking snap at somebody and be like, get the fuck out of my face. And the problem with Rob is when that happens to Rob, everybody's watching. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, when you get a reputation, people are going to either set you up for that situation, or they're going to assume and jump that Rob Liefeld was the reason the situation went sour. And, Rob puts out tweets and stuff that upset people and stuff. But again, people are human. I've said stuff on Facebook that has probably pissed off a ton of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you misunderstood something I posted once and you got upset. And I was like, no, that's not what I meant.
Well, did I apologize? I hope I apologized.
No, you were cool. You were cool. I wasn't clear with what I said.
Yeah.
So I understood why you took it the way you did. But you were cool. You were like, hey, this, sorry, I thought you meant this. And I was like, oh, no, we were great. You've always been cool with me on Facebook. Okay.
Well, and let me tell you the secret about Facebook. Just start deleting every political post you see.
Thank you.
I remember around 2012 when the election cycle came up, I was like, this is some annoying shit. But then when the election cycle was over, it went away.
Yeah.
And in 2016, it never went away.
Right.
And I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm on Facebook because I want to see pictures of people's kids and I want to know, like, what they're doing in their life. I don't give a crap about your politics.
And that's why my show is politics free.
Yeah, anymore, if I get on Facebook, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your side. Like, if all you're doing is posting about politics, you're gone. Unfollow.
Yeah. I have to tell you, the unfollow button was a treasured find for me. I didn't know about it at first because I don't want to unfriend people for things, but I also don't want to be bombarded all day with stuff. And it's either side. But I agree, and that's why I stay away from politics.
I don't understand how people can be so one-dimensional. Like, and some of these people, like, I know, like, some of these people are like my family, my best friends. I'm like, dude, I want to see pictures of your kids' Little League game. I don't give a shit who you're voting for.
Right.
Well,
there was a time where we were quiet about who we were voting for. It was kind of a personal thing. Now it's
that. No, that's how it was. I was raised the same way. There's certain things you did not talk about in public. Politics, religion, and Amway.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that model. Let's go back to that model.
Heather says this, and this is what mine is now too. I love my feed now. It's all art, comics, memes, and friends, and that's what I made mine too. I mean, look, I say that I know I'm repetitive, but I really believe in communities building things up as opposed to individuals tearing things down.
Yeah.
I mean, put it in that perspective. Do you want a whole group in a community to help build each other's houses together? Or do you want one guy going around and setting them all on fire?
Yeah.
Don't be the guy setting everything on fire, So, I agree. I love comics. I love what you guys do. I can't draw, but I think I have a good eye for art. I love what you guys bring. But that comes with understanding things.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you don't get paid time off when you're a full-time artist.
Right,
I understand you don't get health benefits.
No health
I
benefits,
contract
no
myself, and my health benefits are
Yeah.
freaking expensive.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the reasons why I teach. It's one of the reasons why I teach.
Right. And when you're a full-time artist and you're not getting benefits and your kid needs braces and whatever, look, you can't do a $20 commission. You may want to. You may say, oh, you know what, this is a nice family. I'd love to give them a break, but I can't. I have to go pay my mortgage. I have to go pay my kid's dentist bill. I have to,
and it's worse than that. Like I've done free commissions for people like, hey, my kid has cancer, and I did a commission, and then you find out it was a scam. And
it was sold on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they're going around to everybody at a show getting free commissions, and they turn around and they throw it up on eBay. So it's like anymore, someone comes up to me and they want something. I'm like, okay, what's your charity number? Fill out this tax form.
And it's sad that they make you have to be that way.
Right, but once again, you learn not to be somebody's mark, somebody's target for their scheme or their
con. I know. I've been in that too. But meanwhile, I've never I have hundreds of pieces of art. I've never flipped one. Never, not one. Yeah. And I won't. Yeah. I don't flip art. Even if a piece maybe didn't come out to my expectations, I don't say a word. I say, thank you, this looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I keep it. I don't like flipping art. Oh, Mark finally showed up. We were talking about Hellbringers, and
Mark,
now he showed up.
Hellbringers too late.
He was talking about, how you irritate him and how he can't stand working with you. And I'm kidding, of course.
I was about to say, you don't get me in trouble, man. Do not get me in trouble, because there were times we,
Mark,
we got pretty heated, man.
Mark, look at my post. I think you even posted on the post that said what time, and Chad responded. Or no, maybe that was Russ Cassidy did. But I post it all the time, so that's where you'll find the times. But anyway, we talked about Hellbringers.
Yeah, plug your next Kickstarter, your next book.
Yeah, put links in the chat, and Mark, I'm gonna actually contact him after the show about what date I'm gonna bring him on. Yeah. But we discussed Hellbringers, and Chad talked about working with people he likes and how well it goes, and that he enjoys the creative process. And despite all your really bad idiosyncrasies that he puts up with and tolerates, everything's been good.
Dude.
The good news is it's all on video. He can go back and look and see that I'm kidding. There's evidence. I'm kidding.
This is how it goes with Mark. Mark's like, Chad, I love you, bro, but I will kill you. But yeah, I do. So you never tell him that. There you go.
I love Chad. Never tell him that, though.
Yeah. And I know Mark's serious, though, when he's saying
and it's true.
It's true. Like, I love you, bro, but guess what? I'll break your neck.
Yeah. But you know what? There's the people that you admire, respect, and are close to are the ones that are honest with you. You know where they stand. I mean, I know he says it jokingly, but when people can be honest with you about, it's like you were saying before, the people being surrounded by yes men like Lucas. Yeah. You don't want that. You want people that are going to hold you accountable. They're going to hold you up to task and say, nah, man, you're a great guy, but at this moment that wasn't cool. Or look, I'm getting frustrated with you. And when you can communicate like that, your creative team is just that much stronger and better, and you're just going to put out better work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you have to suffer a little bit for the art. You really do.
So you're saying you suffer with Mark. Okay. Chad's like, I'll never come on to this show again.
Can't win, man. It's all right.
We
haven't been married. We're like an old married couple.
If that's the case, then I would be pulling out things you did wrong 20 years ago just to win an argument.
Well, give us 20 years.
Yeah.
Give us 20 years. Oh boy.
With everything we've discussed, we haven't even got into your Harley run. I mean, how did you get that call? How was that? Like you were telling me about trying not to fanboy in front of Jimmy and Amanda, and just that whole. How was it with the pressure of, she was a major DC character. She was the Deadpool of DC or whatever, and all eyes were on your book.
Well, you gotta, that's what Jimmy and Amanda made, though. Okay,
Right.
you gotta understand. Okay, so this is what happened. I had left DC and I went because, like I said, DC. So for the longest time, DC had me being the fill-in guy. I was the guy that they came to when somebody screwed up their deadline. And you got to understand, this is back when Diamond was their distributor, and if you missed your Diamond ship date, that was catastrophic.
Right.
Because cancel, if you miss your ship date, then the local comic shops can cancel their orders, and you'll tank the book. If you don't hit your Diamond ship date, you can single-handedly destroy your book. Okay.
Well, look what happened with Image. All those titles that fell because they couldn't get them out on time.
Exactly. So so if you blow your deadline with Marvel or DC, that's a good way to never ever get work ever again. And so what would happen is I got the reputation. I mean, I was working for Marvel and DC at the same time, and I was bailing both sides out of and there was one time where Joey called me up. And he's like, I need 21 pages and you got 7 days.
Oh.
And I was like, Joey, I don't think I'm going to do this. He's like, Chad, he goes, you're a professional. Just get it done. And it was my first book for Warlord with Mike Grell.
Wow. That's your introduction.
That was yeah. And I got it done. And so Mike is like really good friends with all these old school guys in comics, and
He's a nice man.
Todd Klein had a blog, and I remember when the book came out, Todd was like, the art on this book is shit. And dude, it crushed me so bad. But here's the thing, like, everybody at DC was like, good job, Chad, you did it. You got this book done in 7 days.
Know that you did that. The people looking at it don't know that you couldn't do your best because you have to get 3 pages a day in.
Yeah, but that was my whole. So for Marvel and DC both, that was basically what I was doing. So my reviews were shit. Everybody was just like, "Who is this guy? He sucks." But I mean, you got to understand. Like I was doing it as fast as I could. I didn't really have like a steady partner when it came to inks and whatnot. So they're passing me off to like whichever inker was available. And after a while, finally, like Wayne Foucher and I, Wayne and I started at one point, we started working together. And after like a couple of years, we got really good working together, and his stuff was looking really good. His inks were looking really good on my book. But then what happened is Mark Waid called me up and was like, do you want to do a book with Stan Lee and I? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. And so I quit DC to go do this book with Mark and Stan, The Traveler. And this is back when Mark was editor-in-chief at Boom. And this is so funny. So I get my pencils done. I'm like, okay, so who am I shipping this to? Who's doing the inks? And Boom's like, you are. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Rewind this a little bit, So that's how I taught myself to ink my own stuff. And then after did 12 issues of The Traveler, was with Mark and Stan and Tom. Tom shit. Payor. Anyway, that was that creator team with Traveler, and then I got done with Traveler, and Dark Horse asked me to do a Star Wars book. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And no sooner do I get my Star Wars book, Disney buys out Lucasfilm.
Oh, jeez.
And they yanked the book from me.
Oh, no.
And so they're like, Chad, we don't got Star Wars for you. Disney yanked the license. They're like, do you want to do Dragon Age? And, at the time, I was just like going, well, better than nothing. I knew nothing about Dragon Age. I had no idea like how insanely popular.
After having the project you'd love to do.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing, like Dragon Age is insanely popular. Yeah. It's insanely popular. I had Russians hacking my computer to get pages for Dragon Age.
Are you serious?
I shit you not. No, I got this angry call from Dave Marshall, and he's like, he goes, "Why are these pages up on the internet?" He was like, "You should know better than that." I'm like, "I didn't share those pages." I was like, the only person that's seen it is you. And he's like, "Well, what are these guys doing with them?" I'm like, "Where are they from?" And he's like, "Russia." And I'm like, "Dude," I was like, "They either hacked your computer or my computer, but I didn't send anything to any people in Russia." But anyway, I ended up like changing all my passwords and getting into cybersecurity, and it never happened again. So either they hacked me or they hacked Dark Horse so they could get. But this is back when like David Gator was writing it; it was considered canon,
right?
Because they'd done a Dragon Age book before and it flopped. They brought in writers that didn't know the property. They brought in artists, and so when we did Dragon Age, like BioWare was heavily involved. They're like, it's going to look the way we want it to look. And I was a little upset because they actually took some of my designs and ended up using them in the next game. And I checked my contract and it said that they could. I should have read my contract a little bit better, but maybe give me a free copy of the game. I was like, yeah, geez, come on, guys, But but the cool thing about doing Dragon Age is I got to do everything. They let me do everything except the colors, and I got actually really good at like penciling and inking my own artwork. And then Joey gave me a call and was like, well, "I want you to come back to DC." And I was like, "Joey, I was like, I love DC, but I don't want to come back. I don't want to be the fill-in guy anymore. I don't want to be the guy that's like billing."
It's killing your reputation. You're getting these
hard
reviews.
I was like, if you're going to bring me back, and put me on a book, and he's like, well, come back. And he goes, I'll put you on the biggest books I can. And then he goes, but my next big book, he goes, I promise you, whatever the next big book is, I'll get you on it. And so I came back. I did Demon Knights, and then I did Shadow Thief. So I did like Justice League 7.5, which was Shadow Thief. This was back in Villains Month. And Yildiray Cinar, I hope I'm saying his name right. I've never met him. I just read his name off the internet, so I might be butchering his name. But he was on Supergirl. He was doing Supergirl for Eddie. And he just got scooped by, once again, if you want to work for Marvel, go draw a book for DC. So Yildiray is like doing this killer stuff for Supergirl. And they swipe him, and he goes over and does X-Men. And at the meantime, I'm the one doing the fill-in on his Supergirl pages. And so I'm like, oh, dude, this is it. They're going to ask me to do Supergirl, and this is going to be huge, So here I am. I'm at Comic-Con. I'm doing pages for Shadow Thief. I'm doing pages for Supergirl. I shit you not. My wife is driving home the Prius. I have my drawing board in the passenger seat, and I'm penciling a double-wide spread in the Prius driving home from San Diego to Utah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. To hit my deadline. I get home, we pull up into our home in Cedar City, Utah. I run in, I scan the page, and I send it to him. And I know that I hit my deadline, So I hit my deadline for Shadow Thief. I hit my deadline for Supergirl. And this is all while still doing commissions on the floor at San Diego Comic-Con.
Wow.
And so the email that I was expecting was from Eddie saying, hey, do you want to come do Supergirl? I told Joy, I was like, I think we got it. You know what I mean? And nothing was said. Nothing was ever said to me. It was just like an expectation. And so I'm waiting, and I keep checking my emails. And I get this email from Mike Martz. He says, Chad, you want to come do Harley Quinn with Jimmy and Amanda? And I couldn't fucking believe it. I mean, I was just like, and I mean, we're talking about cartoons, and I was like, at what point did I stop watching cartoons? And I was like, wait a second, I never stopped watching cartoons. Batman, the animated series, is quite possibly like my favorite cartoon of all time. And Harley in that cartoon, like everybody freaking loved Harley.
Right.
But so here's the thing, like, so when I get this email from Mike and Jimmy and Amanda, I was like, yes, and dude, I mean, I couldn't have been happier. Could not have been happier. I mean, my girls came in. You know how you're saying you raised your girls on the cartoons that you watched? All my girls and my son, all raised on Batman the Animated Series. We're jumping up and down together reading this email. You know, like that's how happy we were.
That's awesome.
And I, like, for me, it was like, this is it. This is my big, like, when I got that email, I'm like, this is gonna be huge, because I loved Harley Quinn. And but this is like the crazy thing. Like, my editors, like, no, that I wish that were true. I wish that you go talk to Jimmy right now. Jimmy's been waiting like 2 weeks for concept sketches from me. I haven't gotten to him. I wish that were true. I really do. But so anyway, but DC's just like, yeah, they're like, you'll probably sell about 40,000 issues your first issue, and you'll probably be canceled around issue 12. Maybe you guys will get to issue 20, you know. But
wow.
they're like, they didn't. You could tell they really didn't care. And if you look at some of the Harley books in the past, they didn't do that well. You know, they had Terry Dodson. They had Terry Dodson on a Harley book,
right?
And it just didn't do that well. Okay, but what happened though is, like, you know, you got Jimmy and Amanda who believed in Harley, and I believed in Harley, and we're just like, we're gonna make this book be what we want it to be, and it went insane. Harley went insane. I think that first issue was reprinted 5 or 6 times.
Yep.
You know, and you know, I mean, it was nuts. And in 2016, it was the best-selling DC comic of 2016. And I think only Big Trouble in Little China, with their subscription box, that was the only comic that beat us out in sales.
It's funny that you bring that up, because the other day someone posted something. What movie franchise would you like to see brought to comic books? And I didn't know there was a Big Trouble in Little China. And I love that movie, and I said Big Trouble in Little China, and someone told me that it was made into a comic. So it's funny.
Well, it was like Big Trouble in Little China meets Escape from New York. It was, and I can't remember the subscription box.
Okay.
That did it, but that was and to me that almost doesn't really count, because people weren't ordering it. Like, it was just this subscription box, you know.
Right.
And you know, so as far as like sales from like your brick and mortar comic book store, as far as I'm concerned, you know, 2016, we were the best-selling comic of 2016. So you know, I mean, we were killing it, but at the same time, my marriage was in the shitter. I was doing like 40 shows a year, and you know, we had talked, like, when I first got into comics, how poor, you know, how basically, you know, 2008 had wiped out the economy. You know, I had nothing. 30 years old, 4 kids, had nothing. I didn't have anything in savings. I didn't own my vehicles, didn't own a house. And so there was something psychologically in me that was just like, you got to do everything. Like, you can't say no, you can't turn anything down.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally I worked myself crazy for 2 years straight. And things were just sort of coming off the rails a little bit. And that was 2016. So by the time Rebirth rolled around, I just went to Jimmy and Amanda. I was like, I got to get something that's not this nuts.
Right.
It's not this crazy. And I can't remember when my last issue. I think I did, like, I came back and I did a lot of issues in between. You know, I know I did like the first 3 issues of Rebirth, and then there was like somebody came in for a couple issues. But this is also back when they were trying to do 2 a month, and I think that was the other thing. I'm like, I ain't doing this 2 a month thing. This is bullshit, you know.
Right. Well, just to ask you on the topic, Steve Garcia had asked, and Steve is an excellent artist. Hi, Chad. Wonderful work. Question: as a working pro who also does shows, how do you balance the work schedule with a con schedule and keep it from getting in the way of the work, and keep both from getting in the way of family?
So I failed miserably at that. To answer your question, I failed miserably at that. And what saved my marriage, though, is, you know, basically Joy and I, you know, we knew that we still loved each other. It's just that
things had to change.
But this is what sort of saved us, I think, is it got to the point where our kids were old enough that they really didn't need Joy to stay at home anymore. and we started doing the shows and stuff together. I mean, like for the longest time, okay, so like Gemma was like the first person to help me out at shows, and then my buddy Steve Plava, who has been like my lifelong friend. So Steve came and helped me for years and years. And then after Steve left, Joy came in, and then it started to become something we did together, something as a family, and that's what made it doable. Nice. And I wish I'd have known that a lot earlier, because maybe I could have brought like my kids to the shows with me, and instead of but you don't have it, it's so easy to sit back and look and call the shots and looking back, but when you're in the moment, you're making these decisions. And well, here's the other thing: your kids got school,
right?
I mean, lots of these times you're missing Thursday, Friday, maybe even a Monday, but anyway, now it's a family thing. Nice. And so now anytime we do something, like when we went to Coffin, I went to Coffin with Joy. I didn't go with Steve. I didn't go with Mark or Gemma, or it was Joy and I, and I think that's what, now it's more of like a family business thing. And here's the other thing: like our kids are gone now, so like Joy and I really sort of depend on each other. Like, well, I shouldn't say gone, but they're basically adults. Like my youngest is, she's driving. She's self-sufficient. She really doesn't need mom and dad that much anymore. I mean, we're still here if she needs us, but I mean, for the most part, she's, if we got ran over by a train, she'd be okay. And
God forbid.
Right, God forbid. But
but so it's good though, because with them being a little less dependent, you can focus more on you and your wife and what you have going on. Yeah, I understand. Look, as a parent of 8 and 6 years old, your life is them. It takes a toll. It takes a toll, absolutely.
Well, and here's the other weird thing, like, not too many people separate and they get back together, but one of the things that happened with our separation is we both figured out how much we actually did for each other. You know what I mean?
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Well, and it wasn't even. It was more like, like from Joy's side, like all of a sudden she's trying to support the family on her income, as opposed to what I was bringing in. And for me, it was like trying to like Joy ran all the books, paid all the bills. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, I'm like going, Jesus Christ! Like I'm sitting there being my own accountant. And I'm like going, this is not So all of a sudden, you gain like this appreciation.
Sure.
For and then like I said, we always love each other, and we just sort of said, okay, what's the problem here? If we both still love each other, why don't we work this out? And don't get me wrong, there's a time also where we were, like I said, I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
Hey, whatever doesn't kill us, right?
Right. But no, I think I can.
That's awesome. You can reconnect and appreciate each other.
Yeah. And so anyway, we're stronger now, but we've definitely been through it. So
good.
But yeah, if you can make it a family thing, and I talked about how Stan Sakai was one of my idols with Usagi. That he was another guy that when he went to a show, his wife was there, his kids were there, and it was a family thing. And so I think if you're going to be doing that, make sure it's a family thing and that you're doing it together. Would be my advice as much as possible. And then here's the other thing: just because somebody invites you to a show doesn't mean you have to say yes and go. Like maybe pick like 5 or 6 ones, and then do those. So yeah,
pace yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But once again, for me though, there really was this mentality of like, because the 2008 thing came around, and I went from having like a steady freelance career, and then it all just went away overnight. Basically that just was right there in the back of my head, where it was like, hey, this could all go. Look at COVID. Look at what happened with COVID. 1 second we're all going to shows, having a good time, and then like March rolls around, and every show on the planet just stops, and
right.
and nothing happens.
You don't know what you have tomorrow. You only know what you've got today, and that's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. You have to enjoy it.
Yeah,
appreciate it. I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. But for the most part, family's the most important thing, and I'm glad we worked it out. Just that coming back home and having my kids all under the same roof, and like I said, and I only by the time we patched things up, I only had like 2 years before Michaela moved out, and now Chad's in the Navy, and he's gone, so we still have Erica and Tasty at home. But that it's weird when you're raising right now with you, like you got small kids. You don't think they're ever going to grow up. You don't think they're ever going to get to that point.
Oh, they're growing fast.
Yeah, but your time with them is finite. It's finite. It's gonna one day they're gonna go out and they're not gonna need you anymore, and it hurts. It leaves a hole in your heart, and so you really do, like, even when they're pushing your buttons, even when they're driving you absolutely nuts, there's gonna come a day where, like right now, when it's just Joy and us in the house, our house just feels like it's not complete, without noise and screaming and fighting, so even when they're driving you nuts, you miss the noise of them driving you nuts. So enjoy every minute of it. Take pictures, write stuff down, for the love of Pete.
We do. My wife has a journal.
Yeah, good for her. And then share it, put it on the internet, build like a family Facebook site, so if something happens to you, they have a copy of that or whatnot. But
if you look at my page, last night actually, after I was done messaging you about today, I came across a folder I forgot I had of my oldest when she was less than a year old, and I started posting stuff, and just remembering that, it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And I love when guests come on and they can be human and personal. I think those are the best shows that I get. So I appreciate you sharing all this. That's Well,
I hope it helps somebody. It's one of the reasons why I teach. I teach because I hope there's some kid out there that needs to hear what I have to say, so they can go out and they can be a good artist, and they can do what they want to do and raise their family doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, it is. It's a community. So
there's a gnat in my face. On a lighter note, I always ask this, and we get some interesting answers. And I know your answer, and this is funny. What is the craziest or most interesting commission request you ever got? And I know the answer to this one. You can say it. Just go with it.
So here I am. I'm at a show. I got my 12-year-old daughter, Erica, sitting right next to me. And this guy comes up. He has his book. And he flops it over. And he's been waiting in line. There was a line. So it had to be during the Harley days, because this is back when I had lines. And he comes up to me and he flops down this book. And he's like, okay. He's like, okay, man. He's like, I want Batman making love. He didn't say making love to Wonder Woman on the bat signal, and Superman in the corner watching and crying. I'm like looking at him like, and I turn over and I look at my daughter. My daughter's just like, she's like, can I go? Like, like she's like looking at me like, can I get out of here?
The guy would have a little more.
Yeah. And no, I was just like, I looked at him and I said, absolutely not. I was like, absolutely not.
Wow.
No, but hell no.
We've had fornicating pandas, bears, with anime characters. Now
I said, first of all, that would be. I was like, even if I did do it, I said that'd be $1,500. I was like, you got $1,500? Like, no. I was like, how much money you got? He's like, I got $100. Like, that'll get you a head sketch.
He wants 3 full characters doing
with a background. With a bat signal, yeah, which means you got to draw Gotham too, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. People are amazing. Hey, Wade, thanks for showing up. You made it better late than. So I'm a con promoter. I have a very small show December 6th because I have to keep it controlled. My big 2-day show is not going to be until 2022. What are your thoughts about cons coming back and like the virtual cons that are going on right now?
I wish I knew more about. I'm so technologically inept.
Me too.
Uh,
Okay,
I really depend on people like Gemma to sort of help me out with like the whole streaming thing. Now that COVID's happened, I mean, obviously I've gotten a lot better at it. But I'm horrible about. I mean, honestly, the only thing I'm good at is sitting in a corner drawing somewhere. That's it. That's the other reason I don't get involved in politics. I don't know anything. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad. Don't ask me. I don't know. So that's all I know. So it's really with the other cons, like that's just normal to me. Like a physical con, I know that. I'm familiar with that. That's the way things have been for hundreds of years. It's like, yeah, that's familiar. With the virtual cons, there's some people that are doing awesome and they love it. I'm like, what button do I, why can't they hear me? Because I got the mic, the mute button on, or I have two different webcams, and which one is it stream, anyway. But I think I'm catching on to it. But anything we can do to sort of keep stuff together until things get back to normal, I think we just need to do that. And who knows, maybe virtual cons will be around to stay,
I don't think they will in the sense that they'll replace anything, but I do think there'll be add-ons to shows. Maybe for people out of state that can't make it, for extra revenue for promoters, they may do the online panels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
By the way, just when you think we've gotten rid of them, Norm is back. So whose idea was it to coordinate Chad Star Wars hat with Philip's Star Wars shirt? It sounds like a Philip Palpatine conspiracy to me. It was it's Mandalorian Day, man.
Norm called it though. Did you read Norm's like crazy conspiracy theories about what Star Wars was going to be, and how like he called it that Rey was basically Palpatine's daughter in a roundabout way. He sort of you know what I mean, like yeah.
She stole everything. She stole the Falcon. She stole BB-8. She stole the Jedi text. She stole their friggin' lightsabers. She stole their house, and she stole their name.
Hey, they weren't using it, man. They weren't using it. That's called appropriation. That's not theft. It's appropriation.
But
that's like saying if I reach into my neighbor's garbage can on the street, that I'm stealing it from my neighbor. No.
I don't know.
It's public property. I saw it. The Millennium Falcon was just sitting unused in that field.
Chewie should have got the Falcon. BB-8 was what's his name's the wannabe Han Solo and failed miserably. What's his name?
Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron. That was his droid.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing she didn't get was Poe's jacket from Finn.
I don't know why more people aren't like Finn was like one of my favorite characters.
I could see that in the first one. Then he made him the Jar Jar Binks clown of the next. Yeah. Oh, bad.
And I just like yuck. Yeah, no.
All I know is she stole her. And by the way, at what point does the stupid Emperor? He's so smart that he did all this to conquer everything, but he's not smart enough to know to stop shooting the friggin' lightning because it's hitting him back. Dude. I mean, what? Yeah. And by the way, why are you only aiming at the saber? She has feet. Can't you shoot somewhere else? Why are you just shooting straight at the saber? Move around a little bit.
That movie felt like it was written in 30 minutes. It really did.
Yeah.
You have a million Star Destroyers with Death Star cannons on them, but only one is being piloted.
Right.
And all the other ones are drones.
I know.
It's like
it's all convenient. Oh, you knock out one tower and they're all done. Yeah. And not just that, but he shoots lightning out, destroys a whole friggin' squadron of ships, but then he just decides to aim it right at a lightsaber. Yeah. And because she gets a second lightsaber, I'm all the Jedi. It was the most corniest, crappiest thing.
It was painful, man. It was painful. Like
people were like emotional, like this sucks.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? Here's the thing though. If they enjoy it, let them enjoy it. Like if you enjoyed it, enjoy it.
Right.
You want to hear? I enjoy Adam Sandler movies.
I love
Adam Sandler movies. here's the difference between me and Star Wars fans. I recognize that Adam Sandler movies are shit. I like them anyway. Okay. And that's the conversation we need to have with Star Wars fans. It's okay. You can like whatever you like. Just don't call it a good movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to convince me that this was a good movie. You can like it all you want, but it was a shit movie. you know what I'm saying? Like whatever you want to like. And if you like it, I'm happy that you like it. I'll support you in you liking whatever you like. Okay. I'm not here to harsh your high or whatever, but don't try to convince me that movie was a good movie. It was a hot mess, man.
I actually agree with what Peter said. People think I'm nuts, but I agree with Peter. He says Disney will rewrite all 9 movies in a fresh reboot in about maybe 20 years. I think less.
You know what, though?
I think they will.
I hope they don't, though.
I don't want them to
Make something new. Make something new.
I hate to say
it,
trilogy. I'm sorry. The Disney. I wouldn't mind them rewriting that. Just one. Give me one Luke Skywalker moment again, please. A good one. Just one, and then I can move on. I promise.
Just do another one. Just no. Like what? When they did. When they brought back Mary Poppins. I'm like.
Are you talking about Leia flying through space, or are you talking about Mary Poppins?
No, I'm talking about like Mary. So they're talking like every time they talk about rebooting a movie. Okay, let's talk about Ghostbusters. Let's talk about Ghostbusters. Okay, they reboot Ghostbusters. They get rid of the original cast. They bring in an all-female cast. There was nothing wrong with that movie except it was a Ghostbusters movie.
Right.
If they would have called it like Female Paranormal, Ghost Adventures.
Right.
It would have been a smash movie. People would have loved it. They would have loved it just as much as Ghostbusters. But it was the fact that they're basically saying, we don't care about your fandom.
Right.
We're gonna hijack your fandom, and now we're gonna say, like this no matter what. And when you don't like it, and here's the thing, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. I laughed the whole way through. But at the same time, I'm like going, it did sort of piss me off. Like they bring back Bill Murray, and Bill Murray is just, he's like
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and then I'm like, and it was really sort of disrespectful to the old fan base, and
your paycheck,
and so here's the thing: if you're gonna remake a movie, remake a shitty movie, like go remake Robot Jocks,
right?
Okay, yeah. go grab Robot Jocks and turn that steaming pile of shit into the next, let Michael Bay have that one and see what he can do with it. Or
it's a movie I'd love to see remade just because I'm a monster fan. You remember a movie called Q? It's a dragon that nests in the Chrysler building. It came out in, I think, like 81 or maybe late 70s. A lot of people, I think, one of the Carradines was in it. People don't know about it. It's called Q, and this giant dragon nests in the Chrysler building, and they have to get rid of it. And I think that would be a cool movie to remake.
I think they did remake it. I think they called that Reign of Fire with Matthew McConaughey. And you know what? But see, okay, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody probably took that idea and then probably did make Reign of Fire. And Reign of Fire was a great film. And they didn't insult people like you by saying it's called Q.
Right.
Here's another great example. RoboCop. When they remade RoboCop, if they would have just said armed mall cop, armed mecha mall cop, I would have loved that movie. I would have loved the RoboCop remake. But the fact that they just are trying to sort of hijack the fame and repackage it. And here's the thing, you're never going to do a RoboCop film as good as Peter Verhoeven. Don't even try. Don't try. You're never going to make Mary Poppins better than Julia Andrews. Stop it. Just stop it.
They better not try to remake Starship Troopers. I love that movie.
So there you go. So why would you try and remake Star Wars? You're gonna fail.
You know why? It's about money to them. I mean, you told me, and I didn't even know this before we went on live, that Kathleen Kennedy didn't even know that they had comics and all this stuff. Canon.
She won't be involved by that time if it's coming down 10 years down. Kathleen Kennedy's like,
she's the emperor, and I think that she's going to find a way to clone herself. And
here's the thing though. If Jon Favreau said, "Give me the franchise and let me remake it," I'd be in.
Yeah,
I'd be with you. I'd be like, okay, John.
May the force be with you. Yes.
I'll be like Mark though. You mess this up, I'm going to knife you. So anyway,
she stole everything from everybody. The only thing she didn't swipe was Chewie's medal that he finally got.
Yeah.
And Zatanna, what the hell was the sense of that character? I mean, what the frig?
Here's the thing, though. It's not intentional. It's none of this is malicious or intentional.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's just
fun to bitch about it, though.
It's just, like I know that J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan. If you watch the special features to Star Trek, he'd be like, you know what? I never watched Star Trek. He was like, I was a Star Wars fan. I never watched Star Trek. And I'm like, I knew that just by watching Star Trek, the movie. But at the same time, like when he got a hold of Star Wars, like, okay, cool, here we go. So I know that JJ did not set out
to
like make shitty Star Wars movies. That he was like doing the best he could.
I still don't even think it's his fault.
Well, but see, so but once again, there you go. And then like look at so I told you how much I like Peter Jackson and the movies that he made with Lord
of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, and then look at what happened with The Hobbit. Okay, so Lord of the Rings became a success, and then all of a sudden you have like 6 movie studios involved with The Hobbit. Del Toro backs out. He's like double booked. He's sleeping on the set. He's exhausted. It's being shot by assistant directors.
Right.
So even
you're taking a short children's book and you're making it a trilogy. I mean, come on.
Right.
That was milking it.
We never know what's happening behind the scenes, what people are having to fight against.
Right.
But I really do think, you look at like, I really think it's okay just to leave stuff alone and to make something new.
I mean, I'd be fine with that if it wasn't for the fact that Luke is the one character that I grew up loving. And even though those were cool choreographed fights in Empire Strikes Back and stuff, I never got to see Luke as the powerful Master Jedi just go kick some ass. Just have some fun. That's my only thing. If I could have gotten that, even with the shitty movies, I could move on. It's hard for me to move on when you wasted his character. You made him grumpy old Luke.
Well, and we got to see a little bit of that and that was probably the coolest part of Rise of Skywalker is when they did the CGI young Luke and Leia.
Yeah.
Training where Leia's going through the Jedi trials. Like that 5-second scene was like that. Why couldn't we had 20 minutes of that? And I'm sure it was because of constraints or whatever. See, it should have been Evil Rey Kylo versus Luke Leia. Ooh.
Actually, you know what? It would have been sweet if they actually made the Knights of Ren actually lightsaber wielding dark force wielders. Yeah. And Luke and Rey had to fight all the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren. That would have been cool. That would have been cool.
Anything.
By the way, Luke can catch a lightsaber as a Force ghost, and he couldn't give her a freaking hand. I mean, what the hell?
No, dude. But once again, and people really got like Ryan. Have you watched Knives Out?
Yes.
So, I want to say is Ryan Johnson. Am I getting his name right? Ryan Johnson, the director. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Like he got so much crap for Last Jedi, and I was probably one of the people who was just like, yeah, you didn't really do that great. but at least it was original. At least we finally got an original film where he did a Kevin Smith with Red State, where he was like, the movie's going this way, and now I'm going to make it just go 90 degrees this way, and you better hold on for the entire ride.
The problem with Rian Johnson, though, is, in my opinion, he wrote that movie to catapult the trilogy that Disney promised him on his own. That's why we had the kid with the broom, the slave Jedis. That's why he did all that crap, which was filler and made no sense for the movie. Mm-hmm. And that's why he wanted. I mean, all he kept preaching throughout the whole movie is you got to move on, erase the past, move forward. And I thought he used this movie to say, I'm going to get rid of the Skywalkers, get out of that shadow, so I can do the trilogy.
They started that, though. They started that with Force Awakens when they killed Han. Like, well, I mean,
that's just because he didn't want to do the movies.
I saw that coming, though. When they killed Han, I'm like, this new trilogy, that's all they're going to do. They're going to kill one of the three heroes each movie, and they did.
Yeah, well, you know, when I spoke to Timothy Zahn, who did the awesome Thrawn trilogy, which everybody adores and I do, Timothy said to me, he goes, I knew we were in trouble with Force Awakens when there was not one scene where the three of them were together.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
look, when
they blew that, that could have been the end of the movie. And you know what? I mean, honestly, when I thought it was going to be Luke that saved Rey at the end of Force Awakens, you know, in the forest with Kylo.
Yeah.
And instead they just said, okay, all of a sudden Rey's like this Jedi Master. I thought it was going to be Luke versus Kylo in the forest.
But that was one of the other problems is they wrote her as what they call Mary Sue. She had no trials. You didn't relate to her because she didn't struggle. Everything was coming easy. I mean, she even took Luke down to the ground on an island. I'm like, what are you freaking kidding me? And everything. I mean, she fought Kylo Ren, who was trained by Snoke, and she was. Oh wow! Look at Billy Tucci's in the house. We were talking about you earlier.
Hello, Billy.
Hello. Look at that, Mad Max.
What happened to you? Hold on.
That was his Halloween. He went as Mel Gibson, Mad Max. He looked good too, right?
Yeah, no, Billy looked good, man.
Oh, that's true. What's going on, Billy? So yeah, I did look. There's 5 million things we could go on about Star Wars all day, but anyway.
At least we got the Mando. We got Jon Favreau doing the Mando. So right now,
yeah, man, that I'm happy about. I'm excited. So back to you. Yeah.
We've talked 90% of this podcast has been about Star Wars. That's all right though, man. I don't mind that at all.
No,
I don't mind that at all.
Your career, what advice would you give upcoming artists?
My advice to upcoming artists right now, I think it's important that you get your education. You know, get your high school diploma. But if you're going to be an artist, first of all, you got to be self-motivated. You got to be drawing, like I said, 4 to 6 hours a day during high school. And that way, if you're drawing 4 to 6 hours a day throughout high school, you should be graduating high school at a high level of competency when you're done. And then what I would do is, I hate to tell you what to do with your education, but education is always changing. When I graduated from high school, I was able to find a university that had cheap tuition and that had excellent training. If you can find the same thing, I would take full advantage of that, but I would also weigh your options. I've seen $10 Udemy courses that are 100 times more valuable than a $5,000 college course.
Right.
But the other thing is if you get out of high school and you want to make comics, there's nothing stopping you from making comics. Get on Webtoons right now. Start making comics on Webtoons. Start making comics on, and then when you make your comics for Webtoons, though, make sure that somehow you're formatting them also for print, because when it comes to monetizing, most people, when they successfully monetize, they monetize through a physical copy of the book. Now, there are some people like Lackadaisy who just say, hey, if you want another issue of Lackadaisy, give me $500,000. And Lackadaisy, they're good enough. that they can demand that, and their fans give it to them, and then they can turn around and basically make books forever. But there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you right now. Nobody's there to say you can't do it or you're not good enough. You can basically get on Webtoons Canvas right now, and you can start making comics right now. Use your social media to promote yourself. Always act, and this is really hard. You might want to pick some people you really admire as professionals and model your behavior after them, but model both their good and bad behavior. If you see good behavior, copy it. If you see bad behavior, avoid it, and do the best you can to promote the hell out of yourself. Girls out there, if you don't feel safe, putting your face out there, create a pseudonym, create a pen name. I have a lot of female students who wish they would have done that sooner, because you got some crazy people out there. Okay, so be careful.
Yeah, Billy's here. We know crazy people are out there.
I'm serious.
I'm
dead serious though. I'm talking about. I've had students that went to open their door and there's a stranger there trying to get in their house.
Oh, geez.
Because of who they were online.
Wow.
So it's a whole different game for some people out there. So if you need to use a pseudonym and keep your identity secret, do that. But you're gonna have to promote yourself. You're gonna have to get out there. You're gonna have to hustle. You're gonna have to learn. You have to learn the industry, and you're gonna have to learn to make it work for you. And you're really gonna have to you have to have really good situational awareness. You're gonna have to know how the cons work, how the online cons work, how which retailers are putting out variants every month. Because the industry is constantly changing, especially right now. I mean, it is changing so fast right now. Everybody is just sitting and spinning and trying to figure out where things are going to land.
Right.
But there's nothing stopping you right now from getting on Webtoons and practicing making comics on Webtoons. I had a student who, while she was my student at UVU, created a comic called Kiss Bet, and it became like an overnight sensation on Webtoons. And now that's her career. She's basically out just doing Kiss Bet full time. So there's nothing stopping you from doing that right now. You don't need to go to college to do it. I'm not saying, like I said, go to college if it's helpful, but sometimes strapping yourself with $40,000 in debt just so you can have a degree, sometimes that's not helpful. So if you can get a $10 Udemy class out there, spend that $5,000 on tuition, go buy yourself like a professional grade computer, get yourself a Wacom Cintiq, get yourself an iPad, invest in the equipment that you're going to use, and then learn how to use it. Watch YouTube videos of people like Mel Milton. Watch YouTube videos of, there's so many creators out there that are just putting out awesome content for free. Proco, get on Proco's website and just watch that for days and see if you can't, do the same thing. But follow the example of the people that are out there doing it right now. If you get a chance to meet them, go up to them, shake their hand, ask them if you can buy them lunch, and take a notebook and then pick their brain while you're taking them to lunch, things like that. I mostly say that because I want a free burger at a show. So if you find me I wouldn't turn it down, but anyway, so just you gotta hustle. You got to hustle, right? And if you don't like the hustle, this industry ain't for you. It ain't for you. If you want something that's going to be like easy and you can sit back. I had a professor who he'd do a little bit of painting, and then he'd sit in his chair and he'd have his cup of coffee and he'd sip his coffee and stare at his painting. Comics ain't for you. If that's what you want to do, comics ain't for you. Okay, go be a fine artist. Go learn how to do exhibits and stuff like that. Go learn how to like paint a soup can and con some poor schlep into buying it for $15 million. Okay, it's a whole different market. All right, but
tape that banana.
Exactly.
By the way, Peter said, I got to run. Great to see you, Chad. Make sure to finish Jim's work.
If he asks, you tell him I'm working on it right now. And that ain't a lie. I got it on my iPad. I can share it.
By the way, just real quick, Norm had said, I thought this was when Star Wars Episode 10, Lando dies by nipple milk.
Dude, Okay, make sure you check Norm. Make sure you check out my issue that I just did with Jimmy and Amanda, Super Threats, which is Super Pets, part of the multiverse that laughs, #1. There's a milk scene in there just for you, Norm.
No, I'm gonna go check it out. So, if you could go back to when you were young and starting out, what advice would this Chad give that Chad?
Don't try and break in with Marvel and DC. Start with the small publishers and work your way up.
Nice.
I think my first published book was Digital Webbing #29, Fist of Justice. That was perfect because once I started doing books, the second I actually started doing comics, then the second I did Fist of Justice, then Boom was like, hey, you want to do Warhammer? And then I started working for Boom, and then it just sort of snowballed from there. So don't try and go knock on Marvel and DC's door first. Okay. And you know what? Honestly, I see Marvel and DC basically recruiting from established people on the internet. They want people that are sure things.
Mm-hmm.
They always want people that are sure things. They don't want to risk. They're not going to give Spider-Man to someone who can mess it up.
Right.
They're going to give Spider-Man to someone who's going to knock it out of the ballpark. So if you can go on Webtoons and you can show them that you're self-motivated, you can put out 20 issues of your comic on Webtoons and you can garner 500,000 fans, 2 million reads and 60,000 subscribers or whatever. That's telling Marvel and DC they don't have to worry about you. Okay. Now, of course, when I was a kid, none of that stuff existed. That's the other thing. Change. Plan on change. Don't ever get comfortable. Take one day a week and learn where people are doing something where they're making more money than you are, and then figure out how to get into that racket.
Talk to Norm. He's got a lifetime's worth of Tang and cupcakes and Reese's Pieces, and so he's sitting pretty.
No, yeah. Figure out how to drive the extreme bus. That was the other thing. Right?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I just want to drive the bus. You should have seen Norm's hair back then. He was glorious. Dude, Kiss had nothing on Norm. I'm not kidding, dude.
I told him he looked like Yanni.
Dude, he had hair, and I'm not joking about the Kiss thing. He has a Gene Simmons tongue. Has he ever done the tongue? Is there? I don't want to know Norm like that. With his tongue.
I don't want to know Norm like that.
Yeah, you do.
Good for him. Good for you, Norm. But don't ever stick your tongue out at me like that, please.
Good, Norm. Put the pictures up.
By the way, Wade King said it was amazing advice, and thank you.
You're welcome, Wade. Anytime.
Wade's a very talented artist. He was actually on my show on Tuesday.
Oh, good.
So, dude, you and I have been talking for over 3 hours, if you count before, and I actually had a blast. It went fast. It was fun. Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's good.
Well, that's because I'm charming and, I'm ready to talk.
And humble.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my grandmother used to say, self-praise is no recommendation. I love that line.
I wish I met your grandma. She sounds like an awesome person. That's funny.
Well, I'll leave you with this story, too. One day, my grandmother, she's 80-something. She's looking this way, talking to my mother, and I'm behind her being a little wise-ass, going, like making faces. She doesn't even stop talking. She goes, bap, and crack me right in the face. I don't even know how she saw me. She had she was like a point.
Don't you know moms have eyes in the back of their head, man?
She was seeing, it was the behind the back pass. She just like, pop.
Instinct, man. They're psychic.
Don't mess with the moms or the grandmom.
That's right, man.
Look, thanks for coming on. I had a blast. I appreciate it. But before you go, again, Hellbringer's late pledge is going on right now.
Yep.
Mark May and Chad Hardin and Russ Cassidy and other people are on the book.
McLean McGuire. Yep. Ryan Brown. Gotta give.
Ryan Brown's on it? Okay.
Yeah.
If you like Game of Thrones with hell involved, that's the synopsis we got from Russ. That's a fantasy book that you may enjoy. And then Temerity, you're going to be doing number 2.
Number 2, and we have most of issue 2 done on Webtoons. You can read it right now. Go to Webtoons and just search for Temerity. You can read most of issue 2. We're gonna wrap that up and kickstart it come the first of the year. So that would be my next thing, probably.
Excellent. And Mark May will be on next in December because he's going to be launching
Hellbringers, yes, and I'll be doing a cover for his new Hellbringers book, and then he also has his collectible card game coming out too. So be on the lookout for Hellbringers, the collectible card game Part 3, and then Hellbringers. I almost had it again. Jengar and Shin, I believe.
Put it up
I
top.
think that's right. I hope that's right. Mark will kick me in the teeth if it's not.
Hang on. He wrote it earlier. So many. But yeah, if you go to Mark May, Russ Cassaday, and of course Chad Hardin's Facebook, you'll see all the posts talking about these books and these projects. They look really good, and the art, obviously, when you have Chad and Ryan and everybody and Mark as well, everybody involved, it's a good book. Yeah, I don't see it here. It's here somewhere. But Mark, if you're still with us and you haven't fallen asleep, oh, there he is. Put the title of the book and the link or whatever you want to do, man. Put any links or whatever in the chat to show people where to go, including the late pledge on Kickstarter going on right now.
Yeah.
And as far as Chad is concerned, he's not able to take commissions right now, as he said, but keep an eye out by following his Instagram at Hardin_art. Go to www.chadhardinart.com. You have art.
Lots of prints at chadhardinart.com. Go buy a print, and when the second commissions open up, I'll make sure everyone knows.
Awesome. And if you want, if he accepts you, if you're not a lunatic, Chad Wayne Hardin on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mark put the links in the chat, so please go check it out. Late pledge is now, so don't wait. Go pledge. It's over. It's late pledge. Go pledge on Hellbringer. Thank you so much for coming out, Chad.
Thank you for having me.
I might even have you on just for a Star Wars panel discussion at some point because it's fun.
Let's do it. And take care of that family. Have a safe Halloween.
Yes, you too, man.
Yeah. Go enjoy some trick or treating with those girls while you can. They grow up fast.
Yeah, did you see the commercial we did for your show? They were dressed in their Halloween costume. My daughter was a zombie bride, my 8-year-old. And it was funny. She was in school today, and she had the makeup on under her eyes, right, like a zombie.
Uh-huh.
And the teacher, I guess she didn't put 2 and 2 together. She goes, "Are you feeling okay, honey?" She's like, "Yeah, it's my costume." So Marky did a good job.
I had a student. Her name was Kate Baxter. Show up as Carrie.
Oh, nice.
She was just drenched in blood. I opened the door to my office. I'm like, ah! I'm like, oh, okay, Kate, how you doing? Yeah, come in, have a seat.
Nice.
This is before COVID, but yeah.
Nice.
I've done that too. So.
Well, I hope you have a great Halloween, candy, movies, whatever you do, but healthy and safe. And like I said, anytime you want to come back.
All right. Happy to be back anytime, Phil. I appreciate it, bud.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. So that was another episode. 29. I can't believe we've reached 29. Thanks to Chad for coming out. I had a blast talking with Chad. He's a really cool guy. Down to earth. Just natural fun talking. It's just 2 guys talking across the table. So I love it. Thanks to Chad. Please, again, scrolling there are where you could find him on social media. Go follow, go support, buy prints, follow his books. Again, go check out Mark May, Hellbringers, late pledge right now. Having said that, because of the election next week, we're not doing a Tuesday show. We're going to do Monday, and it's Will Playden, and he's from I think he's from Australia. But anyway, he's amazing artist and painter. So come out and check that out. And I just want to tell everybody, please have a safe, happy, healthy, wonderful Halloween. I hope your kids have a good time. I hope the adult kids like myself and Billy Tucci and Norm have a good time. Thanks again for everybody that comes out every show to watch and those that have come today to watch. Really appreciate it. Love the support. Please go follow, subscribe on YouTube. You can go back and watch all past episodes. Please go support the artists and the creators that come on the show. No matter how big they are or not, there's never enough followers. There's never enough love. There's never enough exposure. So go support, okay? I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. be legendary, and have fun storming the castle.